Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 231. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Johnny V, in the glorious studio.
Multi-podcast studio.
Yes.
Hey, just saying.
Expansion is taking place here.
We are blowing up with content.
So much content. Johnny, you've released some new stuff. Tell everybody what it is, how they can find it, what they need to do.
I thought there was going to be a third thing. There's always three.
I can't always think smart.
That's fine. That's fine. I know you're getting over a cold and whatnot, so.
Oh, it was so much worse than a cold.
I don't
talk about that later.
Oh, that's after show material.
No, we won't.
So for the past couple of weeks, I've been recording podcasts with a couple of our people behind the scenes, AJ Risley, Hannah Macbeth, and yesterday was Jamie Thomas. You can find these out on, if you're a Patreon supporter, they're available to you already. You can listen to them and the full BuzzFeed quiz. I've dubbed the podcast Smashbox Unsanctioned. That is the name, for better or worse. I couldn't think of a better name, and neither could anybody else. So that's the one I went with, and that's what we're going to stick with now. So otherwise, it has its own feed. It will be in our Smashbox feed for a little while, probably for 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, and then it's going to move off to its own feed more than likely. So you should have seen an AJ Risley one drop this morning, and we asked AJ 3 different quizzes. I believe the first one was, what emoji are you? Then, I don't know, 2 other quizzes. It was like 3 weeks ago. I can't even remember it anymore. And I'm going to release them on Mondays. I released today's AJ because they were talking about it on the Disc Golf Answer Man podcast. So I just said, hey, let's knock it out while they're talking about it. So it is in our feed. If you also want to go out and look for Smashbox Unsanctioned, it should be showing up in podcast feeds in hopefully the next 12 hours. I updated it today, and when I looked, I couldn't find anything yet. And it has been about 5 to 6 hours since I did all the updates.
How long does it normally take for a podcast once you upload it to the fancy server things? How long does it typically take for people to be able to discover it or find it?
There's 2 questions there. The first
just one.
Depends how you want to talk. So when you create a brand new podcast feed, like I do all my searching through Pocket Casts because that's the application that I use, and it wasn't showing up yet. My guess is that Pocket Casts probably once a day goes out and grabs all the feeds from iTunes and maybe Google Play or whatnot, and then pulls them all in. So that's why I can't find it there. More than likely it'll be there tomorrow. Now, if you're talking about when I actually upload a podcast to the feed distributor after the feed's already in place, that's almost instantaneous. So we should see, and when the Smashbox Unsanctioned, like I said, you can look for that, is out there, it'll get the weekly updates. Every Monday, you should see a new update or a new quiz. I had Jamie Thomas was great. We had a lot of great conversations there. But I think so far Hannah's has been my favorite. She's a sweetheart,
sexist,
and in general, she was a lot of fun. She was very enthusiastic, which I enjoyed quite a bit. It's just a lot of fun, honestly. Like I said, if you're just subscribed to the normal feed, you're gonna hear me do 2 different quizzes that last anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour, depending on how many little side jags we get off on. And then if you are a Patreon supporter, you will see in the Patreon feed a 3rd quiz, and that one is an additional, usually 20 to 25 minutes.
All right, I should go find them and listen to them.
You don't have to. At some point, I'm gonna do this with you, but. And the 3rd one, I will say, the Jamie Thomas one sounds the best because I figured out a couple tweaks on how to make the podcast actually sound better than how I was recording it. So technical stuff is splitting channels and left and right audio and editing and sound crazy things that I'm starting to do a little bit better with. Maybe this podcast will at some point sound better. Not necessarily sound smarter, but sound better.
Yeah. Only so much help that I think Audacity or Audition can do for us, right? Well, we are glad you're here to join us again, podcast 231. In a little while, we're going to go back down under, and that's we're going to have Chris Finn of Dude. He's going to join us, talk to us a little bit about a big event that went on this last weekend down there in Australia. I want to thank Chris. I had kind of reached out to him relatively last minute. My mind has not been on the podcast side of things for the last couple of days in who we were going to talk to and what we were going to have going on for tonight. So it worked out really well. I feel like it's been a while since we've talked to Chris, and he performed quite well this weekend. So it kind of doubles up as a perfect reason to have him here on the show. We may or may not hear or see from Paul Ulibarri a little bit later tonight. I think he told me not to promote that he would be here, but he said it might happen. So, I mean, they're just a hope and a prayer is all I can pray on, I guess. There's all I can wish for is that we might hear from one Paul Ulibarri, who I will be seeing this weekend in just a few days, actually, as I'm going to be heading out to the Maricopa Meadows Open taking place out in Maricopa. I am ready to I haven't done a lot of traveling over the last month, but as we're about to get hit with 4 to 6 to 10 inches or whatever it is of snow tonight, and we got hit with a snowstorm a couple days ago, I'm ready for Arizona for a couple days.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Will you help me pack
Terry.
my bags?
If you help me shovel.
No.
All right.
Although I did go out and voluntarily shovel the other night. I live in a condo that I own, and
you shoveled the 25 feet of sidewalk?
I shoveled the sidewalk that's in front, and shoveling to me is a lot like mowing lawns, where I miss doing it, but I'm at the same time I'm glad that it's technically officially taken care of by someone else, but occasionally I will volunteer myself to go do those things because I actually miss doing both of those things from time to time. But I'm glad I'm also not officially pinned down or required to do them. So from time to time,
I can
grab a
gather that.
shovel.
I can completely understand that. Again, knowing your complex the way you did, I don't know how much you actually shoveled. If it was just that little bit in front of the house, or if you went above
for the most part, out to the sidewalk. It was at least as much as I would say is in your front.
Sure,
when it's all said and done. So
I rarely shovel. I have a snowblower, thankfully, and it is. I'm done with it already. You've only
had to use it like twice.
I've only used it once so far. I'm going to use it twice tomorrow, and I'm already done with it. It's not fun, especially when I have to take care. If it weren't for the alley behind my house that doesn't get plowed, and I need to do it. It is, I would be fine, but it's that alley, and it's just a pain. I hate it. Other than that, no big deal, because when I snowblowed a couple days ago, I always take care of both my neighbor sides if they haven't already, because, like I said, the one neighbor on our, I think it's to the south of us, there's a really old woman there and her mother. So, and on the other side, it's a younger family, and we help each other out, which is always nice if we're not around. But it is, all I can do is watch my son, who just loves the snow, bounce around. It's the only thing I think that gets me through it.
Well, hopefully we don't have too much. I know there's winter storm warnings all across the Midwest. Hopefully everything clears up. In other exciting news, speaking of a little bit of travel, before I head out on Thursday, here in Wisconsin, we're going to have the arrival of one Simon Lizotte. He's going to be coming into town. Simon and I have some video stuff, I guess I'll generically say that, video ideas and things planned for Thursday. And then over Friday night, and I'm not sure if he's Saturday night as well, but Friday night, I know he's going to be participating. We have an indoor disc golf experience that takes place here in one of the Milwaukee suburbs. Johnny and I have both been to that a couple of times throughout the years, and it's a really cool complex. It's essentially a soccer complex, and then a bunch of baskets are set up. It's kind of an ace race style. You're just trying to hit chains or metal or get a hole in one on almost every single hole. And I don't know if there's 22 or 24 holes, something like that. And a really good, fun indoor activity in the dead of winter. So I know Simon will be in town for that. And then I believe he's also going to be in town into Madison, Wisconsin. So if any of that helps you, if you're anywhere in that area, over in Madison, he's going to be doing a meet and greet over at the Glide Pro Shop, Mike Batka's place, and I believe he's doing that on Sunday. So it should be a pretty exciting weekend for everyone here in Wisconsin. Although, like I said, I'll have a quick meet and greet with him on Thursday, and then head over to Maricopa on Friday. Hopefully, no one's travel plans are adjusted in any way.
He going to the indoor experience on Friday and Saturday?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I believe so, but I'm not sure on that.
I'll ask him because I might have plans on Friday. I wanted to go out there and not participate, so to speak, but get out and do some filming and maybe a little live streaming while I'm out there, and we'll see if that's going to end up happening.
So, but pretty cool. A lot of people are very excited, as they should be. Simon coming to town and excuse me, doing some fun and unique things here in the middle of our winter. That's about it that we're seeing. We also saw, I'm thinking of a few other things. As much as I was removed yesterday, we did see that JoMez released a schedule. Kind of, I don't know if there were surprises there or not.
There's no surprises as far as I could tell. They are only doing one Pro Tour event.
Yeah, they have Waco listed.
That's Waco. They're doing most of the NTs and majors.
Yep.
The only thing I really noticed is that they do not have anything scheduled for the Pro Tour weekends. So
it leaves opportunities.
I am still going to go out on a not so tiny limb and say we are going to see them at some of the Pro Tour events, whether it's second or third card. I don't think they're going to get any lead card action there, but it would just make sense if they're not doing a JoMez Final 9 or like a Sexton Shootout or some other form of video production. It would make sense that I think we're going to see him on the Pro Tour in some capacity.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. Right now, like you said, just Waco is listed on there, and I'm guessing that they've worked out something specifically with Ryan and the crew over there in Waco in terms of having some on-site presence, knowing how much they've been greatly involved with Discraft and with Paul Macbeth over the last few years. I would go ahead and say I think you're going to also see some involvement at some of Discraft's biggest events, being the Ledgestone
Memorial,
the Great Lakes Open. I just if something I don't know anything that you don't, but like you're saying, almost on speculation, I would have to assume something's gonna happen one way or another. So what it is, I don't know, but that would be my guess. So we'll see how that unfolds. And speaking of Ledgestone, today they released an article, a little Q&A session. Did you see that?
I did not.
Okay. Don't bother. I'd be surprised if it's still up. Is it if you go to lisopen.com?
Why would they have taken it down? Production value poor?
I'm gonna call it a. I've been involved with the event. I wish them the continued the best of the luck. I feel like the marketing tact here would just miss its mark. As you see, literally every single thing on that screen says the same thing. I feel like it missed its mark. They released an article that asked Paul 10 questions.
Yeah, right here, 10 questions.
And then Paul, in that, so to speak, gave the responses to them. And at the very bottom, this is a big spoiler if you don't want to hear it. At the very bottom, it says, "Oh yeah, this was all a joke." I get it. If it were April Fools, as they maybe referenced, it would have been a different story. I'm just not sure what the and this is coming from a guy who helped pull a prank with Paul Macbeth at the Ledgestone event on our podcast a few years ago. I get that, but this one
just didn't hit the mark.
It just
I'm looking at the questions here. What's your favorite part about Ledgestone? Macbeth, Moolah. You've had your highs, winning 2016, and your struggles in 2018. What makes the biggest difference for how well you compete at Eureka? Macbeth, Discraft. What's your favorite hole at Eureka? Macbeth, the last one. It's a very dry humor. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't appear to have hit the right notes on this particular joke, and it would have been better to save it for April.
And yeah, maybe it would have been all too easy at that point, but Nate, I get it, or whomever. I don't know, and I'm trying not to just to feed the bandwagon. I think of a lot of others that felt like it also missed the mark. I guess I'm trying to understand exactly, unless you're just trying to attach Paul's name to it with Discraft, and that's an SEO thing to do. I'm not sure. It was Hannah Macbeth who told me just a few short months ago, you need to pick a position or a side and stick to it. And, well, per Hannah's advice here, I'm going to pick the side of that was not my favorite move. So that's what I'll say about that. All right. In other news, we're also seeing one thing that I do like to see, Wes from the Underground. I believe Wes is the captain of the team Underground on Discraft side. He is doing interviews with a bunch of the different players on the team. I believe one of them upcoming is actually Tom Julio, who is a gentleman.
Bob.
Or yeah, sorry, wow,
Tom.
I'm thinking of a local
Tom
guy.
Julio
Sorry.
is a local guy,
Yeah,
well,
wow.
formerly local guy. I don't
That's
know
so
if he's
funny.
around here anymore.
No, he's not. He's
But
in Michigan.
He's in
though,
Michigan.
now.
Bob
Thank you.
Julio
Yes. Bob.
works for Discraft, formerly the team manager, and is
Yes.
now working with Uli to do team management stuff, and was on the Discraft Underground podcast asking all sorts of fun questions,
Yes,
I guess.
so
I
I
haven't listened to it
apologize,
yet, but
Anyway, so yeah, go out and check those out. Wes has been coordinating those, is what I was really trying to get at, is Wes has been in charge of putting those interviews together. So if you want to know more about what's going on Discraft side, you can. Did you take any note of some of the recent, I'm going to call them confirmations on team alignments, sponsorships? I feel like there's been a couple more. Isn't our friends at Alta World, don't they usually do all the work for us and keep it on track? I haven't looked at the website in a little while, but I feel like there's been a couple more announcements where it's like, oh, so-and-so has announced that they're signed for another year or another 2. So not so much in terms of new shakeups or moves, but people that have kind of confirmed. There's been a couple of them.
yeah, there's been a few of them. We saw, and this was prior to last week, I believe, Missy Gannon re-signed with Dynamic for another year.
Who's going to be on tour quite a bit more this year, so we're going to see a lot more of Missy go on.
Greg Barsby, 2 years with Innova, continuing.
Yep.
James Conrad, 2 years with Innova, continuing, which is interesting because I know we've mentioned them a few times earlier in the year that nothing had been even mentioned about them. And it's good to see that Innova is keeping their some of their top players intact as well. Nate Perkins re-signs with Discmania for 2 years, and Leo Peronin as well, Discmania for 2 years.
Okay.
So,
I feel like there was even a few more, but maybe they're not on there. Okay.
Reed Friscura goes from Latitude to Discraft.
Yep.
You know, Michigan guy. That makes a lot of sense. Vanessa Van Dyken, I believe we talked about, went from Prodigy to Discraft.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew Marweed went from Innova to Innova. So he did not move.
An extension there. Okay.
Correct.
All right. And on the board, Jeremy is saying that, not to mention, James Stewart got sponsored by Black Ink Discs. Okay. And if we do have him on a little later, but in case we don't, Paul Ulibarri getting into that media game a little bit more. Not only did he come out with his first ever vlog, I think today, he came out with, or is that a documentary? I'm not sure. That was
Is the length of a documentary?
It was 28 minutes.
I hope that whatever it was not nearly as bad as the Fire Festival documentary I watched. I hope his
funny. I
his season doesn't go like that.
Was that bad? That documentary was?
The documentary was great.
Oh, okay, but you're saying
the whole what the documentary was about. Woo!
Yeah, I did see that on
stuff.
Netflix. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. So he's released that, but also he's kind of furthered the point that him and Brian Earhart are going to be doing their podcast called The
Buzz.
The Buzz.
Great name.
Yeah.
No, really, I think it is for what they're both Discraft sponsored. They're traveling
Would
together.
Would it be as great if they weren't Discraft?
No.
Okay.
No.
I agree.
Obviously the podcast that I just started, takes a lot of BuzzFeed articles, and I kept trying to think of a way to integrate that, but I did not want to use the term buzz at all specifically because
you're already stealing there.
I'm already stealing BuzzFeed content, but on top of that, you don't want to put off another particular manufacturer's player. So I completely stayed away from that. And
those guys doubling down on it because they're Discraft sponsored makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
I just hope it doesn't turn into a zombie podcast.
Oh, okay. Is that normal?
Well, those are ones that just like they stop going.
Oh, okay. In that sense, yeah. I thought you meant actual zombies.
No. I mean, if they start watching The Walking Dead, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other Discraft puns to throw in there.
Oh. They come around more often than a comet? Halley's Comet? No?
That's stretching it.
Okay. All right. Some people are on the board, and I'll be the first to admit I don't know what the reference is. They're just talking about Eagles, maybe a recent vlog from Eagle. We know that. We talked about it on the show. Eagle did Vlogmas, where I think he put out a video almost every day in December at one point, maybe leading up to Christmas or all the way through the New Year. Sounds like there's another one that's out that has some people worked up. Is that a fair way to put it?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
Someone on the board may have to correct me. There was a video out from Expert Village about how to throw an Eagle riffed on it.
Yes.
We'll say.
Okay. That I did.
Humorous.
I am privy to. Okay. I thought there was something else, but no, that makes perfect sense. All right. Well, I'm going to see if I can check in with Chris Finn here in a moment. As I was trying to think if there's anything else that we're seeing out there in disc golf news.
Well, we can talk a little bit about actual event news.
Okay.
We have a few B tiers. As everyone knows, we're getting warmed up towards our intro to the year, basically. The big events. The Savannah Open out in Pooler, Georgia. It was a 2-day event. We saw 23 Open players. Tournament director was David Clays. Winning by 5 strokes, shooting a 74 under par. That's 7-4. Round 1 was 19 holes. Round 2 was 19 holes. Round 3 was 19 holes.
Go to the finals. I'm guessing the finals.
The finals were.
It's not listed.
It's
so
not
it was
listed.
probably listed as like the default of 18. Therefore, when they only played,
I don't know,
6 holes, that's maybe how they got. Well, I mean, doesn't it show the par?
It's
you
possible.
could do the easy math there.
Yeah, par 58. You're right. So that's probably the case. They
Par
messed
65.
up finals.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris Dickerson, how's thing shooting a 74 under par in a 4-round event? That's either a very easy long course or. All right, so we'll just say he won by 5 strokes over Barry Schultz and Josh Childs. Lance Brown shooting 14 behind Chris Dickerson, and Mark Kistner shooting. Here's a drop-off. From Chris Brown shooting whatever he shot, we'll just say -74. Mark Kistner, it says 13. Now, granted, that's because he didn't play in the finals, so those extra strokes weren't there, but that makes it look like it was a blowout. Ultimately, it was probably much closer than it shows. Because
you could say that Chris Brown
total.
really smacked them around?
You could say that, but I wouldn't.
Okay.
Especially not with the recent Chris Brown news that we have.
And I'm ragging on you because you called him Chris Brown a moment ago instead of Chris Dickerson.
Did I say Chris Brown? Really?
Yes. So we're 1-1 on
Wow.
randomly botching a last name here tonight. Yeah,
you botched the first name, I botched the second name. All right,
there
Chris Dickerson, and I was probably looking at Lance Brown
I think you were.
a little further under.
I'll give you that.
Okay. Let's move on to the Open Women. This podcast so far has been going great. Really, the new podcast is much better than this one because I can edit things out when we make a dumb mistake. Open Women, 3 Open Women. Haley Childs taking that division down, shooting a 35 over par, and Julia, thank you.
It's all right. I'll admit, I only know that because I filmed her a few weeks ago down in Florida.
Beating Julia by 5 strokes.
And look at that Pro Masters real quickly.
Oh, Pro Masters. Let's move down.
Look at that.
Michael Joe taking down Pro Masters over Brian Schweberger. That's probably that might be the most competitive field over Open.
Well, interesting to see that
Barry Schultz didn't play in the Pro Masters. He decided to step it up into Open. If you had a choice to play against Chris Dickerson or Michael Joe, I mean, it's a lose-lose situation for most people.
Yeah.
Other than Barry, he has a chance to beat both of them, or in this case, maybe neither of them. I don't know, but I don't know how I would make that choice. Other than maybe he figured Michael Joe and Brian were more than likely to beat him as opposed to Chris Dickerson and anybody else. I don't know what Barry's thought process was, but ultimately he made the right decision because he took second in Open in a 23-man field versus, let's just say, second in Pro Masters in an it would have been a 9-person field.
Well, either way, interesting to see that Barry opts for the larger division and presumably the larger payout in that field. So yeah, and I'll be interested to see how someone like a Michael Joe continues to decide which events he's going to play Open at versus when he's going to play Masters. Obviously, the same could be said for a Brian Schweberger and a Barry, but Michael Joe, I believe, being his first year in Pro Masters or being eligible for his first year of Pro Masters, I'm going to continue to see how that unfolds as the year rolls on. Very interesting to see for sure.
We have Chris Finn in our green room. We are just waiting for him to send us some video on his Skype account, and we will get him right on the show.
Clicks on a nifty little button, and I think with that, and we can talk about some details for what we're going to see in Australia here in just a second. But first, let's bring in the dude, Chris Finn.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. I'm just sorry. I'm just going to have to come back.
So, first of all, good to see you. I can actually say it's been just a few weeks since I saw you over in Australia. But this weekend, some things were getting serious again, and you guys are back in the swing of things in Australia. Give us the lowdown on what went on with the tournament.
So we had a Dude Pro here in Western Australia on the weekend, and I guess to put it into Fahrenheit, we were playing in like 100 and then 110 degree Fahrenheit weather. So it was an absolute scorcher, and we battled on through the conditions, and most people, I guess, survived that weekend. It took me a couple of days. I'm still getting over it this morning. A couple of coffees to get me going. The body was a little sunburnt and dehydrated, but it was a good weekend. And battled with a few of the good local boys. Two gents in particular, Dave Bandy and Jordan Wheeler, who were a couple of the good players here in Australia. And I managed to come out with a win myself, so that was fun.
And now that was taking place in Mundaring, which is right in the general location of Perth, or no? Is that?
Yep.
Like so that's the same side of the country?
Course, the home of the Aussie Open, about 45 minutes out of the city, up in the Perth Hills. It was a good spot to be.
So, and you can correct me if I'm overstating this, but when I now refer to Australia and I want to compare it to the U.S., I kind of think of Perth being, geographically, Perth is about the equivalent of like a California as opposed to like a Geelong or a Melbourne, which is would be like a Florida. Is that kind of geographically like almost that same distance apart on two opposite ends? Yeah. Or would Perth be almost more, is that a little more north? Is that almost like an Oregon or a Washington?
Look, I would say your Perth would be Los Angeles versus Sydney being New York.
Okay.
So, I trust him.
Yeah, well, you've traveled both more extensively than I have. So they're on opposite ends with not a lot in the middle.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people in the middle. There's lots going on, but it's most of the communities and the people in Australia are centered around these cities which are on the coastlines.
It's kind of crazy. The past week and a half, my family has been watching this show on Netflix. My son is in love with it. It's called Instant Hotel, and it's based out of Australia, where they more or less rate these people's Airbnbs, and they rank them against each other, and there's all this backstabbing, and so there's all these places now in Australia that I'm getting to know a little bit better just because of this silly Netflix show my son is obsessed with. So I don't know how popular it actually is in Australia, but we have it here in Netflix. So
that's big time.
I can't say I've seen it, but I don't get to watch too much TV. When I do, it's usually watching a rerun of Frozen for about the 500th time, or Minions or something. With a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, there's a lot of kids' TV going on.
So when you're talking about that heat, I do think back to a few years ago when we saw the Aussie Open taking place, and that was the number one adjustment for all of our players, was to get there and then be outside in those just absolutely scorching conditions. Is that something that all of the players there are pretty much always accustomed to? I mean, do you guys even think twice about how much sunscreen you need and how much water you need?
No, we do, mate. I mean, we would usually avoid those conditions as much as possible. The unfortunate thing for us, I think this is the fifth year in a row that either side of our event weekend has been maybe high 80s, 90s, low 90s, and then on the exact weekend of the event, it just happens to pump up at the wrong time, and we get the hottest 2 days of the year so far, in the last 12 months. But I guess, right now it's probably 75 degrees, so if that had been on the weekend, it would have been a little bit nicer, but, we just roll with it. We've tried changing our event by a week, and the weather seems to follow us, so I guess the weather gods just want to test the players mentally as well as physically on the course. So, but yeah, most people would avoid playing in those conditions, or at least get out for a casual weekend round, at 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning, and then spend the rest of the day in the pool or down the beach.
Now, with this event, is this the kind of the second main event that we see during the year? I mean, you guys have a tour that takes place all year long. Is that correct? And is this one of the 10 or 12 stops on the tour, or is this kind of a standalone event?
Yep. So no, the Australian Disc Golf Tour has been going now since probably 2005. There is 7, I think, main events. We call them the ADG Tour 8-year events, and Perth luckily has 2. This was the first one for the year, and then we have the Perth Open, which is towards the end of the year, and they all lead into the Australian Championships, which you were a part of a couple of months back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so these are kind of the main events that happen around Australia that any of the local touring players get to go to and I guess strive to be at. Dude Pro being the first one of the year probably doesn't get the bigger numbers, but it's still a fun event.
Now, you mentioned a few moments ago one of the guys you battled it out with. I think when a lot of people have recognizable names and faces with Australian disc golf here in the U.S., they think of yourself, who obviously you spent a ton of time over here, and then also spending a lot of time over here was Jordan. And are we going to see more of either of you in 2019 over here in the U.S., that is?
Yeah, look, I definitely have my business trips planned, which revolve around keeping Dude rolling. In terms of personal, I would love to be coming to the US to play the Pro Master Worlds up in Smugglers, which is my favorite place to play in the US. But the jury's out on that one because I'm spending a lot of time with family. Especially in the last 12 months, it's just been a focus to make sure I get lots of family time and home time. So we'll see. I am planning to come there for that event. Jordan Wheeler will be heading back to you guys in, I think, March or April this year, and he's going to definitely be on touring with another gentleman. Can't remember his name, but yeah. He's definitely going to be on tour, and he's getting better, and hopefully this season he can start to get his game up, plus 1,000 rated rounds every weekend. We'll see.
What does it take? I was there for not quite a month, but what does it take if someone wanted to come from Australia to the U.S. and travel all around playing disc golf? How logistically, what does that take in terms of the government and the interaction that's needed? Are you applying for some special kind of visa? Is it listed as something to do with sports or business or leisure or travel? What are some of the hoops or the things that people have to jump through if they want to do that?
Yeah. First of all, you're probably going to have to invest in a ladder to get over that wall.
Yes.
But
If
for
people
me
could only figure that out.
For me, we had a business and travel visa. So we went through like a 3-month application process. I think the first time they gave me a 1-year visa, and then they liked me so much they decided to give me a 5-year visa. Yeah, I think, you know, for everyone it's kind of going to be different. Some of the guys that have been over for, you know, 4 to 6 weeks or a couple of months have just had a tourist visa. I know young Jordan Wheeler, his father's actually American, so he has the dual passport, so life is very easy for him. But yeah, I mean, it's not too difficult as long as your intentions are good. You know, you don't have too much trouble getting those visas. It doesn't stop the customs from scaring the hell out of you at the airport as you come in, you know, asking you why you're coming, you know, why do you want to stay in America? Why do you want to live here? You know, and you have to literally talk them around to let them know that, you know, you want to come for a holiday and to work or do whatever you're doing, but you are going to go home. You promised to go when you're finished.
Yeah, I think I read somewhat unrelated, of course, but I just read an article about apparently over in New Zealand, there's a few visitors over there that the whole country's trying to get rid of. Is that what I saw? Did you see that article about a family and a few tourists that have come over, and they're just apparently causing ruckus everywhere and just absolute just jerks, and like to the point where there's a lot of people trying to get them out of the country. Not necessarily just doing anything illegal entirely, just being jerks. And I saw some article about that a few days ago. They want you to leave.
Yeah, right. I haven't read it, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that come to Australia and New Zealand and overstay their visas because they don't want to go home. They like it too much. And look, I love being in the US as well, but Australia is definitely my home, so there's no trouble in me leaving. You know, I like living by the beach, and yeah.
All right, so we had you on the last time we had you on. I don't think it was all good news. We talked a little bit about where you were with Dude and some of the challenges that you had experienced. Where are you at now? How have you been able to recover, and what can people look forward to from the Dude brand here in 2019 and beyond?
Hi.
Yeah, look, it seems to be that February is usually a month I like to avoid. 2 years in a row, we've had a bit of bad luck, and unfortunately last year was the same. I got caught up with a bit of a con artist down there in Philadelphia. So this February, I will be uncontactable just to avoid the 3-year in a row problem. But yeah, look, 2019 for us is, again, similar to 2018. We're just going to cruise along this year. You know, just spend a bit of time developing products, but not going to push too hard in touring. You know, there'll be no big dude truck driving around, and you know, we probably won't put as much cash into events. You know, we'll more focus on offering, you know, some customizable player packs and some new products, and you know, I'll just kind of manage things from over here, and you know, it'll be more of a just more of the same for us, just to keep that brand rolling and support people where we can. Yeah.
Well, yeah, when I think about you coming into the scene, it was right around the time we were also seeing the Disc Golf World Tour come into existence. We were seeing the Disc Golf Pro Tour coming into existence. You were very active at both. Of course, now we've seen the World Tour. I guess they're taking another year off. We'll call it this year. I don't know if they made that announcement or not, but I'm going to assume they are. But what I'm really getting at is you've seen those, you know, when you came in at about the same time, what have you experienced from afar? You know, you were involved with them, not as much right now, but what are you seeing as they continue, you know, to go their paths that they are on?
Yeah, look, I mean, my feeling on this is, you know, disc golf has still got a long way to go in being able to support these types of things. And you know, we obviously got behind both the Pro Tour and the World Tour. And, you know, I think Steve Dodge and UC, you know, they do fantastic things in terms of growing the sport around their events. And, you know, we decided to opt out of continuing support, I guess, 2017 with the World Tour. I guess we just didn't align so much on a few things. So our intention wasn't to jump back into the World Tour again anyway. I just felt like the general numbers in Australia just couldn't, you know, it couldn't sustain running one of those events. You know, personally, we put a lot of money and time into it, and I just felt like maybe it's probably a couple of years too early. Whereas the Pro Tour, you know, has a huge following in the US. You know, Steve does a great job, and, you know, the scene is bigger. There are more touring pros. There's more people that want to be on tour. So I think that's more sustainable. You know, I would guess to see that, I guess the World Tour, maybe this year, you know, UC is going to focus on the European stuff and, you know, grow what's going on over there. And then, you know, maybe in a couple of years' time, get some bigger out of disc golf sponsors, and that'll kick off again. And, you know, good luck for UC in doing that. You know, he puts a lot of time and money into it. And, you know, him and I, we're kind of a little bit different. We see a different view. But I definitely, you know, I love what he does, and I hope he continues to do that. And, you know, I think disc golf is better off for having, you know, those tours in the sport, and having those gents, Steve and UC, doing things in the sport as well. So, you know, for me, it's I'm putting a lot of time and effort into really pushing the growth of disc golf in Australia. And, you know, we developed a new brand over here called RAD, you know, just keeping in line with Dude and RAD and keeping it a bit fun. It's called Recreation Activity Design, and we're all about installing courses in Australia. And, you know, I think that's the focus for me. Again, last year I put a bit of time into it. This year I'll put a bit more time into that as well. In new countries, you need to have courses in the ground for people to have somewhere to play. And, you know, that's definitely a bit of a focus for me this year, to continue doing that.
And that's one of the things that really surprised me when I was in Australia, is seeing, unfortunately, just the lack of courses. Of course, just disc golf isn't nearly as developed there. You guys have great people and a great scene, but just a lack of courses, and that probably then leads to a lack of players, and so on and so forth. There's a snowball effect there. So getting into the design component, what do you feel like is what is your number one goal or objective, you know, in having that RAD component?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's, I guess, a little bit different direction in terms of we wanted to be marketing ourselves in a way that local government and organisations could understand. And, you know, we were kind of pushing Disc Golf Park as a brand, and appreciated being a part of that. But I just didn't feel like it connected with people, because you're trying to educate people about the sport first, and that process takes a couple of years. So we're taking a bit of a different avenue. And I mean, I think when I started back in 2011, there was probably only about 20 or so courses, you know, Disc Golf Park and RAD. I think we put in about 30 to 40 courses around Australia, and this year we're aiming to put in at least 20. You know, so obviously Dude keeps me busy, but RAD and other things over here also keep me very busy. But, you know, I think that that's my focus, is to really connect with the people that we think will get behind installing courses, such as, you know, local government or camps, or, you know, ski resorts, and, you know, anything like that they will be looking for a solution for their community that we can provide.
What is the number one hurdle or obstacle or challenge that you face when trying to get more courses in? What's like the biggest obstacle in front of you?
Look, I would say it's all around the education process, that they don't know what you're trying to sell them.
Okay.
They haven't heard of it. And, that takes time. And I'm sure, like in the US, governments have a process, and it is not a quick one. So you need to be patient and you need to be consistent. And for us, some of these courses take 2 or 3 years to get in the ground. And so we're just continually putting pressure on local government around the country.
Okay. Yeah, and safe to say that we still have those similar obstacles, but because of the growth and because of the how familiar people have become, it's getting that much easier. And I think back to 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, the way a course got in was you found the property, then you begged the city or the county to be able to use it, and then you'd go out and have to do all the fundraising for it. And then at that point, you might be able to get the course in. And now it's quite different in that a lot of these communities and county properties, for instance, are actually putting it in their budget, and they know in 1 or 2 or 5 or 10-year plan, they're saying, yeah, we definitely want to add disc golf. It's just a matter of when that's going to happen. So it all comes in due time, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the other key thing as well is, local governments are used to their process. They're also used to spending money on community, and most of them have directives to increase participation or, increase community activities, getting people outdoors. And, that's what we're trying to reach. But we're also trying to make sure that we don't have to find money for them, because they all have budgets. You just have to be realistic. And, if you offer something to them for free, then for sure they're going to want to take it, but you're probably doing the industry a disservice. You need to make them realize that they're buying a product. If you're designing and installing something that's going to be built to last, then, that money goes back into the community. Like, if we install a course and we get paid for it, we're employing someone to do that. And we're also supporting events, that happen after that once the course is in the ground. And, that's the little circle that you got to keep growing is, get the government money. We're all paying taxes, that money goes on to community stuff. And then hopefully it goes back into a disc golf business and potentially straight back to a disc golfer who plays. And, it's a nice circle. Yeah.
Well, there's just that entire economic impact. I always think about them from a tournament perspective, but just adding a course to a community in itself is going to have a significant economic impact. And I think that's definitely an angle that needs to be promoted more. And what are some of the things that compete when you think of other activities? I guess cricket comes to mind for me, but other activities in Australia, what are some of the things that you can either compare or might compete with those government dollars, or when somebody's, because I think about the U.S. that has, a basketball court and a volleyball court and a pickleball court and a tennis court, and we have all these different things, including all the park amenities, walking trails and fitness trails and everything else that can be in a park. Is it fair to say there's not a tennis and a basketball court at just about every park in Australia?
Yeah, look, I would say most of the parks have got, good infant to youth activities. They put in the playground, which might cost them $100,000. They put in, like you say, like a half basketball court. That still probably costs them $40,000 to $50,000 to put in. So when you compare those costs to the cost of a disc golf course, I mean, it just doesn't even compare. You're talking about quarter of the expense. You can have probably 10 times the amount of people playing. But yeah, they are still, it's what you compete against. I mean, but in the last 5 years in Australia, maybe 5 to 10 years, because skating's kind of mainstream now, all the local governments have had a directive to put in youth skate parks all around the country. And there's a couple of businesses that have been doing it very, very well. But when the councils are putting in a skate park, you're talking about them spending $250,000. So they are happy to spend the money. What you need to do is be professional in your approach. And one of the things that we're doing this year is not going to a council to potentially talk about putting one course in the ground. It's approaching them to potentially look at their whole constituent and say, look, here's 5 areas. If you want to basically put in disc golf in your constituent, then here's 5 courses and 5 parks that could be really beneficial to get activation from disc golf. And we'll be doing that. Instead of applying for 1 course, we'll apply for 5. And it's going to go through the same 2 to 5 year process. And when you get to the end of it, when they give approval, hopefully it's going to be for 5 or 6 courses and not just for 1.
I like that idea. Go big right away.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach.
Yeah.
So
same effort, hopefully a better outcome.
Yeah, and so I guess then when you're looking at the future of Australian disc golf, what is that? What do you see in the future? What does that mean to you? What will you what will you consider a success or huge strides or development? What does that mean to you?
Look, I would say it looks like disc golf being, I guess, around all of the main cities, and potentially, being able to find a course within, 30 to 40 minutes of wherever you live in a city. And we've only got kind of like the 6 or 7 main cities, and that's where I see it heading within 5 years. We want people to be able to find disc golf, and we have the luxury, I guess, of it being a fresh new thing. There was definitely some areas in the US where you had to fight off 20 or 30 years of people's own opinions about what disc golf or frisbee golf was about. Whereas like in Europe, Australia doesn't have a huge history of, people thinking that it's just a hippie sport and this, that, and the other. It's a good, fun community activity that kids, adults, old timers can play. I think it's it's going to be fun to see how it progresses. And obviously, apart from what I'm doing with Dude, that's what else we're doing with Rad, and it's a focus for me is just to grow the amount of courses, and all the little pockets that happen. Hopefully there'll be little clubs that spring up, and locals take ownership of their own course, and they start putting in the effort to run small events or leagues and things like that, which will obviously increase the exposure.
Well, what I really want to know, I mean, that's all great and all, but what's the next acronym going to be? Do you have to go to terms like gnarly, or what's your next word going to be when you come up with your next leg of your
Rad.
company?
He's just going through all the Ninja Turtle names.
Yeah. What's next?
Cowabunga.
Yes. What will Cowabunga stand for?
Whatever it'll be something that hopefully makes people smile when they say the name.
Now, when we've seen a lot of your branding, and I'm going to go back to the Dude for a second, when we see the branding, it's been primarily black and orange, and then I saw, and I know you've redone one of the logos there. I saw a blue pullover zip up, actually. What are some of is that part of the new line, some of the new products that we're going to see? Or is that a limited one-off? What do I got to do to get myself a blue jacket?
Terry is not a fan of orange or yellow.
I'm not. Orange and yellow.
He doesn't like to draw attention to himself.
That's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah, well, look, there's, we've got some standout products, and, we will definitely be doing more color variants of those good products that everybody loves. You saw some stuff. We do some small limited edition runs, and we did it last year, and we'll do it again this year. And, that just gives us a bit of idea on what people like and what they don't like. And then, as things pick up, we'll make those sort of adjustments to offer more colors. But, like anyone manufacturing anything, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of risk to purchase products. And, we are still a small business. We don't have discs behind us to sell, and people aren't used to buying disc golf specific clothing. So, we'll just keep introducing some new products this year, and I guess we'll probably also clear a few of our older products, and we'll also focus on some customizable kind of player packs this year where people can maybe pick their own colors. The hats especially, we created a nice new logo. This year we'll probably offer some customizable player packs where people can choose a color for their own caps and put their own logos on them, and all those sort of things. And
nice.
I like it. We've done it with our baskets. We're teaming up with a few of the manufacturers. Rad. We've made a couple of Innova baskets. We've also made our own specific light basket in Australia to get into schools and things. And that's making products is what we do. So hopefully you will get some nice new colors this year, Terry, and we'll do our best to make sure you get one.
I don't think Smashbox has an official blue, but we'll have to see if we can line up the colors to be some form of that blue. You touched on something a moment ago about not having discs. Of course, we think about all our major manufacturers, Innova and Latitude and Discraft and all our MVP, all those where their core principle, their core focus is on discs, and that's not something that you're currently doing. But you have others in your area. Of course, I know you work with Innova and a number of other brands, but then Simon Feasy, RPM, just a little, I guess it's not really a pond. What do you call the distance between you guys in New Zealand?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a pond. It's
like a pond.
It's where we like to separate ourselves from the Kiwis. We love them, but we like to have a little bit of water between us so they can't just swim over here and take all our jobs and drink our beer.
You need to build a wall.
Simon Feasy, RPM Discs, we're definitely trying to do a little bit more to help support them, and we'll definitely be working with them as much as possible. This year especially, we'll do some more stuff with Simon. The discs are fantastic. The plastics, I'm sure you've seen them, are amazing, and whatever we can do to help support them and to grow their brand, as a company that's born out of this end of the world, we try to work together where we can, and notwithstanding that Simon's a great guy and we're very good friends, you got to do whatever you can to support each other, and that's what we'll be doing this year.
That's awesome, and I can see that happening. One of my favorite parts about being in Australia is that community and that togetherness that was there among everyone. Yes, if you guys are in a distant corner, we'll say, of the world, they're corners. That's what the Earth is flat. So you're in a distant corner of the world, but that community, that togetherness, that camaraderie, it feels like it's all there. And people have different agendas and things they're ultimately trying to accomplish, but yet there's that sense of you guys have to and should work together to accomplish kind of the greater good. And I very much felt that at the tournament, and that included your brand along with a number of other brands, and RPM and what Simon's doing and all the great guys over there in New Zealand. It was very cool to see.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like you said, everybody has a different agenda, but we're all trying to do the right thing, and everybody's trying to support each other and grow the sport. And that is definitely one of the great things that this community should be about, is just supporting each other. Do whatever we can to support each other, the small guy, the big guy, whatever. We definitely need more support of each other. That's a big thing.
And I want to say it myself, because I don't know if I've spoken with you since Worlds, when Dude was a phenomenal supporter of our broadcast, donating some packages of prizes for some of our viewers and some of our super chat sponsors. It was I barely had to finish hitting send on the email, and I got a response saying, "We're in, we're good, thank you, yes." So hats off to you guys for following through on what you say.
Yeah. Look, we try. We've had quite a lot of people approach us already in the last couple of months for this season. I've been pretty busy. I haven't had a chance to really go back to everyone yet. But we do plan to get back to people in the next month or so, and we do what we can. If I can't do something, we say no. But if there's anything we can do, we'll definitely give it a shot. And that's yeah.
Now,
Otherwise, what's the point in doing it?
Right. And one of the immediate responses, and I know this is nothing new to you, but one of the immediate responses when you came out with the line is that these are prices that disc golfers aren't necessarily used to paying in terms of our merchandise, whether they feel like they're expensive or disc golfers are cheap or somewhere in the middle. There's a little combination of all of that probably. What have you done, or how have you either answered that or responded to that when someone says, even someone on the board says, it feels like some of the wares are a little expensive? How do you answer that, or what is your feeling on that when someone says that?
Yeah, look, I mean, we run a business first of all to make money, and then what we do with that money is putting it back into the community. But when you're making products, when you're making small numbers, it's really difficult to make things for cheap, especially in Australia. It's not possible. We've tried to revise the way we run the business in terms of not necessarily having distributors who add their percentage, and then even I guess towards the middle of last year, retailers didn't make up a huge amount of our business, so we just kind of changed the model a little bit to try and get the prices down. And I think we managed to knock another 20% of the pricing off of our products, and we've kept it that way. We still want to support retailers. It's just going to be a slightly different model where anyone that buys bulk, we give them a good bulk discount. But we've done everything we could over the last couple of years to keep bringing those prices to manageable. And like any brand, the more you make, the less it costs, so the less you have to charge. But we do make premium products, and I think the prices sit pretty well in terms of premium products comparatively. So yeah, our products last. I'm sure this shirt I've had for 4 years.
He's never washed it even.
It barely comes off of him, because I think the last time we had you on, you might have had that same shirt on. And we're seeing people in the chat say that yes, you're paying a little bit more, but some Ryan Pilcher saying he started with 1 pair of socks and now he's at 4 pants, 4 shorts, and 12 pairs of socks, because the quality is better than what you normally find in a lot of disc golf gear or general big box clothing.
Yeah, there may be a premium, but we're all kind of on the same page of the premium's there, but the premium is certainly worth it, and I can attest to that as well for sure. And you're not even paying us to say that, so
not yet.
Not yet. No, I mean I don't know what other people are like, but when I bought a watch. I buy one watch. I had probably bought a watch about 7 or 8 years ago. I just bought another watch, and I probably won't buy another one for about 6 or 7 years. I might spend a bit more money when I buy it, but that's because I want it to last. And that's kind of what I want with our products. People put the money in and they get something that lasts. And if for any reason our products don't last how they should, and we replace them. It's just we put our time and money into fabrics and quality zippers and all those little things, and hopefully people have got gear that lasts them a very, very long time. And I'm about as hard wearing on clothing as anyone could be, and if my stuff lasts, I'm pretty confident that it's going to last on anybody else.
All right, well, before I let you go, I just have to remind you, somewhere on my phone I took a photo of a little wager you and I placed, and I feel like, he might even have it in his wallet. I feel honored if he was still carrying it. If you have it and can read it for us.
I'm pretty sure I have it. I might have just got a new wallet, but I do. I keep it in there, my friend.
Somewhere in the wallet in my phone, it said something along the lines of within 3 years, we would have an international FPO or MPO world champion. Does that sound about right?
That is correct.
Is this the third year?
I feel like
we have this year and next year. By 2020, I think it was.
Okay. Well, I'll confirm. Yep.
I'll say for MPO, there's obviously always Simon. But now, if we get Evelina touring a lot more, or Kristen Tatar, on this side. There's very good chance for FPO. I would say it's probably 70.
You want to take me up on it too?
No, I was gonna say it's probably 70-30 in your favor right now, but there is a chance.
All right. Well, I think we have a whole carton of dude wear bet on this. Is that what it is? No. No, but we do have a little wager, so we'll see. And you know what? For the sake of disc golf, for the sake of the sport, I would happily pay up on that bet if we do have an international, because I'd love to see it. I was just playing the odds though that we won't. So we'll see how that bet shakes out.
Yeah, we Australians we like the underdog. Yeah, we're always backed into a corner and like our national emblem, emu and kangaroo. They never take a step backwards, and hopefully we get some international winners up there. We can't have you Americans winning all the time.
Yeah, it gets boring, I tell you. All right, Chris, anything you want to share with us before we let you go here tonight?
Look, I just want to say thanks to to the people that support Dude and also to our ambassadors for the last couple of years. Also good luck to all those guys, and even good luck to Simon this year. I love Simon. He's probably one of the most friendly guys around, and KJ as well, and Zoe, Dustin. Everybody that just walks around with a smile on their face. That makes life a little bit more fun. And yeah, watch out for a couple of Australians. There's 3 or 4 junior kids right now that are tearing it up and showing signs of what disc golf will be like in a couple of years. We got Paddy, we got Jareth. There's a couple of really young kids, Dylan Feldman, Jordan Clark from WA. Yeah, there's a few really good kids, and hopefully more and more kids, just like all around the world, are going to come up and shine in the next few years. And we just get to sit back and, watch JoMez and see, Central and you guys, and enjoy the footage, hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, and I called it as well, that Dylan, when you're talking about young kids that have a huge future, if he ever travels internationally, that Dylan has, quite the skill set for being 16 or 17 or whatever he was when I met him this year. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, along with all the others that you mentioned as well, for sure. There's no doubt about that. All right, Chris. Well, we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing and hearing more from that side of the world as this year rolls on. And congratulations on the event this last weekend. And I'll continue to watch that Australian disc golf scene to see how things unfold.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. Disc golf is my passion first and foremost. So getting back here and just being able to play without too much going on, a little bit more 1,000-rated golf for me this year. It doesn't matter if I'm running business. First and foremost, I love the game, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing more this year.
Awesome. Well, we'll hopefully see you out there, and hopefully see you at the Pro Masters Worlds in Smuggler's Notch, the beautiful facility that it is. And as you said, we know how much you love it and how much everyone else loves it. If you're going to make a trip to the States, it makes sense to have that one on your calendar for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, have a good day. It's Wednesday afternoon there. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you later, buddy.
See you, mate.
All right, see ya. So as I said, Chris Finn of Dude and Rad.
Taking on, it looked like it was rad-creations.com.
Yeah,
is the website.
So what an interesting place and time to be as I think about something like Wisconsin, as we're pushing, 300 or 300 plus courses in Wisconsin, and we have 40 or 50 or 60 tournaments, sanctioned and non, on our calendar, and everything that we've been involved with, obviously dating all the way back to the late 70s, with the amazing forefathers and the people that we've had involved that have helped create our scene. And then I think about where Australia is.
It really feels like it's about 20 to 25 years behind the U.S. as far as growth and expansion of courses.
Yeah, and just some of the opportunities that are still in front of them, some of the challenges that still have to be overcome, and if there's going to be that tipping point where things are just going to get that much easier. And it's interesting because even as I'm saying that, I'm wondering if when that was in Wisconsin specifically.
The tipping point?
Yeah, like when or turning point for when it no longer like disc golf is not it.
It felt like the mid 2000s.
Yeah,
like
it's no longer crazy to mention it because people don't look at. Yeah, I mean, some people, of course, clearly still have no idea what you're saying, but for the most part, somebody knows someone. Oh, yeah, my kid plays that, or my grandkid plays that, or my coworker's kid, or whomever. Somebody usually knows someone who's at least familiar with it now, and that is huge in terms of our overall acceptance. They got a ways to go over there still, and I know we've always talked about how like Finland and what UC has been able to do over there, and if it's a matter of where their priorities are or what other things are available to go participate in, and how it's actively promoted and involved with schools, or how a lot of those countries take it like seriously in terms of like, this is a professional sport. You're going to, you're going to practice this. You're going to do it every day after school, and you're going to become a professional and earn a living at it or win money at it.
And here in the States, we treat it almost as a professional hobby.
Exactly. Very much so. And there's so few that take it to that next level. And it'll be interesting to see how that kind of unfolds in Australia and in a number of other countries. But
thank you for the super chat, Ace Run Productions. Much appreciated as always.
Yeah, that may have been even your second one tonight. I think we saw one a little earlier, but thank you so much.
I might have missed one.
And speaking of super chat, Disc Baron, who is been a huge supporter of ours, especially as you mentioned earlier when we were thinking about the worlds and the super chats and just in general. Disc Baron has been super supportive. We appreciate it. Sent me a couple of discs. I think we're going to be able to give at least one of those away. I don't know if it's going to be tonight or next week, but we've got some stuff in the works, and I just wanted to recognize and thanks Disc Baron for the support as well.
And while we're talking about discs, last week the update for the Patreon discs was your daughters were putting boxes together. I had sent you the spreadsheet shortly after the show. And where do we currently stand with that?
Your disc for Patreon has been delivered to the post office.
Oh.
If it wasn't such a pain, I'd show Johnny the picture to put it up. But long story short, about 100 or so boxes or padded envelopes. I had to order more padded envelopes, and then I ran out of labels. So it was a multi-day process, and then of course, post office was closed yesterday. But on my way here today, I was able to stop in and drop those off. So if you are on the receiving end of a Patreon supporter disc from the 2018 season, it has been dropped off at the post office, unless you're international. It's been dropped off at the post office and will likely be to you by the weekend, I would say at latest.
So you can get out there and get all those aces with it this weekend.
Yeah, and if you ace or bogey with it, we want to know about it.
It's got my name on it. It's my disc.
Yeah. So, hey, Mark Hill, we appreciate the super chat as well.
So, do we want to tell him what the disc was?
No, I think we wait.
Let him get
when you get
a little surprise.
The question is, who's going to be first to get it and then post it and tag us at SmashBoxxTV on our Facebook page. That's what we want to see.
Did you bring one so I could be the first?
Nope.
Oh, then no.
So, a little spoiler, if there's a handful in Wisconsin or Illinois, you're probably going to get them first.
That's not fair.
Maybe even by tomorrow.
But all right. That's true.
But either way. So those were all shipped out. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. It was quite an effort. My favorite part, though, was definitely as the labels were printing out that I ran out of labels for my Dymo label maker. And I was like, are you kidding me? So thank you to Amazon Prime for also then getting me more labels quite quickly. And most importantly, my two daughters who assembled most of the boxes and helped on the assembly line, and who I would like to not thank is PayPal.
Did they lock your account?
No. I know we talked about that last week.
All right.
No, PayPal, this is a little service announcement for any of you that ship a lot of stuff by chance. PayPal has, since last year, removed the batch process for running, for buying labels, for buying postage labels. So last year and the year before and the 100 times before that, I take a CSV file and I load it up into PayPal, and it automatically just it prints all the labels for the 100 or so people, and it prints them all out, taking everything that's already in the spreadsheet. However, our friends at PayPal have decided to take away that feature, so I had to literally copy and paste every single name into PayPal, along with the address, along with the zip code, every single field.
Why are you using PayPal and not something like Stamps.com?
Because Stamps.com wants to charge you like $20-some a month to be able to use them. And PayPal already gives you a discount by using them in the first place, and they don't charge you anything additional. So PayPal generally is the smartest way to do something like this. If you want to go to a lot of the other ones, and maybe someone on the board knows something I don't, but I wasn't about to spend $20 to then go get a monthly service.
No, I understand. No more needs to be said. I didn't realize that it was an extra cost.
F you,
All my
PayPal.
offices at work have Stamps.com, and I hate dealing with them in general.
It was super obnoxious, but we got them all copied and pasted over.
The important part is you guys are going to get your Patreon discs. Thank you for being Patreon supporters. As always, we couldn't thank you enough for all of your support in any avenue. Speaking of Patreon, obviously we have, as a Patreon supporter, you get access to the podcast, the full podcast, show and after show immediately at any sponsorship level. If you're a $3 level, you get access to the Patreon disc. At $2 level, you get your name put in the credits. The $10 level now we have is for clothing. So you're going to get Tim, who was on the board earlier, Tim Courts, is designing up some cool-looking Smashy shirts for us, and you'll get some of those. So if you can and you're interested, make sure to sign up if you're interested in the $10 level, make sure to sign up. I don't say this very often, but make sure to put a cap on it. I don't want to see anyone accidentally get hit with like a $50 monthly bill if that's not what you're looking for. If you're looking to give us $50 a month, God bless your soul. But ultimately, yeah, we've got that coming up. So make sure to get in on that, because if you're only doing a $10 a month and a $10 cap, you need to be a Patreon supporter for at least 3 months in order to get that awesome shirt that's going to come your way.
Sweet giveaways.
Yeah, we get lots of giveaways.
On the side note, I did email PayPal, and I was like, did you guys take away? Because I of course, did a little Googling, to which kept coming up with the answer of that they took it away. And then a few days later, their customer service gets back to me and completely disregards the actual question that I had for them as to how I said I wanted to be able to upload, of course, and then print these. And they said, oh, no, you can log in anytime you want. Just hit download and get a spreadsheet of everything you want anytime. Like, I'm not trying to download my activity, you jerks. I'm trying to upload an entire form with all of the correct fields. Thanks. You totally missed the mark. All right. Enough of my complaining for now. There'll be more later.
Just you saying that, the one word I remove more than any other word in the new podcast, because I'm able to go through and edit it afterwards.
Anyway?
All right.
Oh, all right.
You do it. I do it. Anytime we want to start with something, we're like, all right, let's go. And then, all right, this and that. So I've been removing a majority of them, not all of them.
We should just have an all right counter instead. Make it a game.
Just rack up numbers.
Yeah, maybe not.
So is it $10 a month for the shirt? I didn't really understand the Patreon site. JT O'Brien, yes, it's $10. The patronage, it says per creation, which would be, we do 4 to 5 creations a month. But if you put yourself at the $10 level and then limit yourself to only pay $10 a month max, then it is only $10 per month. So I know it can be a little confusing in that aspect, but you can definitely cap the amount you pay every month. As long as you cap it at $10, you will be eligible for the shirt.
Or more, yeah. So just so everyone's clear on that, and this is worth mentioning because there are so many different Patreon people using Patreon within disc golf. Patreon is a really unique feature in that you can put an amount in per creation, as Johnny was just talking about, but then you can also set a cap for that month. And everyone's a little bit different. So if you wanted to say, let's say I wanted to give $2 for every single video that the disc golf guy puts out. But then you could cap that and say, well, I only want to pay $6 total.
At most.
At most. So you could have it say, I'm going to pay up to, so you'd put in $2 per creation with a cap of $6. In the Smashbox case, you could say, I'd like to pay $10 creation, but have a cap of, say, $2. So at most, even though we create 4 podcasts or 5 podcasts in a month, you would get capped at that $20, or you could do it at $10 or whatever the case is. That's one of the best parts about Patreon for all of our video producers and content providers out there in disc golf, is you can set in an individual creation amount and then put a ultimate cap on that. So JoMez may put out 10 videos in a month, and you say, well, I'd like to give them $1 per video, but I have a $5 per month cap. So even though they put out 10, you would just get charged for $5 worth. Same for CCDG and so on and so forth. And so everybody's a little bit different as to what the rewards are and how they go about it. But Patreon allows you to put in a per video or per creation amount and then have ultimately a cap on it. So hope that's crystal clear. Okay. What else you got?
Not a lot.
No?
It's been a pretty slow week. You were sick. We had a holiday. I'm really enjoying, for those of you that don't know, as Terry said earlier, him and I have been going to our local Marksman League. I've been having a lot of fun with that. We saw this week Eric McCabe got a perfect score.
Oh my gosh.
That's 25 putts. The first 3 stations are at normal size baskets. The second 2 or the last 2 stations are at marksman size baskets, so they're the skinnier ones. And the distance goes from 1 to 5. You go 15, 22, I think it is, 33, 22, 33 feet. So, the 2 stations 3 and 5 are both at Circle's Edge. Eric dropped down the first ever and only so far perfect score in the 2 or 3 years that Marksman's been going on. 75 points. It is pretty amazing in general. It's a lot of fun, and I like participating, especially in this colder weather when you can't get out and play. So if you have a marksman or even a putting league in your area, get out there, get involved.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the marksman leagues are on the downswing in terms of running for the year. Is that correct?
Yes, most of the marksman leagues
closing up,
are starting to wrap up or close up. Our marksman league particularly ends this week, but we might continue to do some sort of putting league.
Okay. So I'd love to know if you're out there on the board now. I'd like to know if you're participating in a marksman league, where you're doing it at. I think it'd be great to see some of those responses. One of the cool things that we see, because, of course, they do their social media over there, and Eric McCabe with that perfect round is Bobby Brown, I believe, was at the last one. In Emporia, and the fact that they do it at the Granada every week, I think, is really awesome. They, set up, move away some of the chairs and everything else. So the same Granada theater that you see for the
it used to be the players Q&A.
Yeah, the players Q&A, or for the players meeting.
Now they've moved that to a gym, but that is now the Granada is always check-in at the GBO.
Yeah, it's I just can't say enough of how impressive, and really none of us would be surprised that EMAC has the lone perfect score ever.
I think his marksman baskets are bigger because he works at DD.
Oh, he brings his own baskets in.
Yeah.
He has extra chain added to them.
Usually.
That would make sense. But
Bobby stands behind and knocks him in.
Very, very impressive. So very much congrats to you, EMAC. That's such a, I even think about, I hit all 5 from the long station earlier this year, which obviously is the toughest one. But I think about getting all 4 stations, how practical that is or could be. But then getting 5 for 5, assuming that's your final station, getting 5 for 5 from the long station to complete the perfect round with the thought or the pressure of doing just that, the perfect round, all of that, super impressive.
Yeah, just this last week, I went 5 for 5 on the first 3 stations, and then I had 4 for 5 on the 4th station. I missed, I think, the very first putt, and then I hit the next 4, and I was all excited that I was shooting such a hot score. On the 5th station, I think I went 2 for 5 or 1 for 5 to finish it up for still a decent score, but
You're no EMAC.
I'm no EMAC. And then I was shooting really well, and your brat of a daughter was running around and distracting me.
I would definitely think
I'm
it's her fault.
totally going to blame her for my really unfortunate, crappy putting.
Yeah, I'm not sure that works.
No, it doesn't. Your daughters are wonderful.
On a slight side note, in terms of video coverage and other details, I have some cool announcements that you're going to see another set of videos released tomorrow. Yesterday, I put up the Minnesota Amateur Championships. It was the final round that took place at Kaposia Park, so look for that. That's also the same property or one of the courses that you've commonly seen for events such as the Minnesota Majestic, also AM Worlds. There was a round played there in 2014. 2001 Pro Worlds had some golf played over at Kaposia Park. And that's also a place where we were live many years ago on SmashBox. So the final round of the 2018 Minnesota Amateur Championships is posted. Tomorrow, I'm going to have another round posted. It's 24 holes. That's the clue I'm going to give you. It's 24 holes. It's a final round of an A tier, and that will be professional. So that's going to drop and be available tomorrow as well. Yeah, and excuse me. I can also throw out that we're getting that much closer to some Nantucket footage being released. I've all but officially pinned down a couple of commentators to get some action on them.
Just short of sitting on them to get them to do it.
Yeah, and nobody wants me to sit on them. So we're going to hopefully see that coming out soon. And then there's one or two other rounds or events that still have yet to come out as well. So those are going to continue to unfold here in the off season. Look for those all showing up on the Disc Golf Guy channel. What are we? A couple weeks out from Vegas? I saw Paul Macbeth flying to
he's going over to LA.
LA, obviously not too far from where we'll see him at the Wintertime Open.
I know they played a practice round. Him and Hannah played a practice round today. I'm not exactly sure if they played a practice at Wintertime or they just played a round in general.
At the
then they're going down to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get all this from the Hannah Macbeth new podcast that we put out. Then they're going to come back, do a little bit of prep for Wintertime. They said they're going to get almost zero prep in for Las Vegas and then head over to the Memorial.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking.
Where will we see a SmashBox schedule as JoMez has already released?
Oh, good call.
SmashBox schedule. The website is finally back up and running. I say that, but Tony Boyko was so graciously helps us out with our website. There was some issues with him and some of our former provider, so he was very kind to get that up and running. There's not much of a schedule so far for SmashBox itself. We have right now the GBO, and that's the only official one we're doing. We're obviously going to put our hat in the ring for Worlds. And we'll work on, we've got a couple other people reaching out to us, so we'll work on that as well. But there's
we've had a couple other events reach out to us regarding live coverage.
More exciting would be the Disc Golf Guy schedule.
Potentially, yes. Well, hopefully. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be this year. There have been a number of tournaments that have reached out, and some even conflict with other tournaments that are reaching out. So hopefully we're going to see a lot more coverage. I'll be bringing you from a post-production side of things. And then one way or another, I think you're going to see a few more nightly recap shows that will take place this year. I'm not sure exactly at which events and where they'll be feasible and practical to do, but I think you're going to see a lot more on the nightly recap side of things as well. So I'm looking forward to doing some of those this year.
That would be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll hop in on some of those as well.
David John says GBO live, and that's it. As of right now, and we've kind of talked about this in the past, that most of the national tour schedule can't even
support live. Beaver State Fling, no. Masters Cup, maybe down on the golf course, but we've never really tried it. The original course has nothing. Delaware might be able to offer it.
Maybe.
What else is on national tour now?
Vegas.
Well, Vegas. That is not really an option, unfortunately, for us.
Yeah, and then Hall of Fame Classic, where things wrap up
that is a dead zone as well. That's the middle of the woods.
Center. Yeah, and that doesn't support a live streaming option either. So, unfortunately, just the national tour is kind of set in that way. And not to say there's necessarily even a budget for it. We just haven't found that that's a route that a lot of them are going at the moment. So we shall wait and see.
There's nothing you can use to strengthen the signal. Not really at this point. We have the units have a little bit better. The newer units have a little bit better antenna, but we've seen that it's nominal. So we're not. I would love to get out to Beaver State Fling and test with some of the some new equipment, but I think until some new breakthrough happens, maybe a 5G, but even 5G isn't supposed to support larger areas. It's a more concentrated, more equipment, smaller wavelengths, higher speeds. It's not going to do much for your rural areas, I don't believe. So,
cool when it asked if can Smashbox cover the Hambrick in Ohio.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we did cover that a couple years ago. I believe that was 2016 is when we had covered some or at least a majority of that event. Maybe not the first day. Maybe it was the first day as well. But we did cover the Brent Hambrick a number of years ago on the NT side of things when that was a national tour. I believe it was 2016. And I also believe, just to put it all out there, I also recall during the finals, maybe figuratively and literally throwing my hands up, and I might have just blurted out "F it" because I was so I was flustered
for the finals when they had like the 8-some, and there's a extremely long hole that goes down into a ditch, and I think 4 of the 8 people threw down there, and nobody knew what was going on at the time or who was supposed to throw.
It was
chaotic. A cluster chaotic.
It was a little chaotic, and I just remember thinking from both a video and from a commentator perspective, it was impossible to try and appropriately follow along. And then at one point, I know there was some kind of a lost disc or a possible lost disc, which never helps any kind of a live broadcast. It was less than ideal. Not to say we couldn't go back and things, we couldn't make things better, but we've also learned and improved quite a bit since then. But I just remember that the structure of that final 9 did not lend itself to being. It didn't set us up for success. Let's put it that way. I think that'd be a good way to put it. And Christy M says shouldn't be an issue this year. I think that version of the final 9 is over with. So from a live perspective, that would be
from a
very advantageous.
Not so great. For a fun perspective, I'm sure it could be a lot of fun for the players.
And then asked, Simon will not be here in studio. He's actually got a pretty jam-packed weekend with a lot of things scheduled. I kind of touched on it earlier. I know he's doing some meet and greets. I know he's doing, a disc signing and everything else over in Madison, about an hour west of here. I think he's doing that on Sunday, and then he's also involved with some nightly things, and he might visit a local course or two as the day goes on, but he will not be here in studio, so to speak.
I'll be stalking him, just literally following him along, like maybe a block behind him, watching him.
That's a good idea.
I think it would be.
Just find out. Yeah, exactly.
My own personal Simon blog that he doesn't know about.
Yeah, that wouldn't be creepy at all. That sounds like a good idea. All right, Johnny, if you don't have anything else, I think we could probably close out the regular show. You have anything else we need to touch on?
I don't.
News, rumors we need to make up here on the spot.
Oh, what rumors could we make up on the spot?
Media or otherwise related, player relationships. We could make up a couple that doesn't exist.
I heard CCDG is going out on tour.
Oh, okay.
But not to film. Their goal is to be all 1,000 rated golfers.
That okay. I can see that.
They're going to be,
I mean, Ian's not far off that already, right?
That's true. That's why Ian's not going on tour. He's like, I already got that under control.
Okay. I like it.
That's a nice made-up rumor.
And then Johnny Disc Golf. I mean, he was on a lead card a few weeks ago. So makes sense that they would take their talents and skills elsewhere.
To the course.
Yeah. I mean, they're already bringing them to the course. Might as well throw down. Yeah, I like that. All right, guys. We are going to end the regular show. We may or may not see Yuli in the after show. I'm going to reach out to him as he talked about. He said he's not making any promises, but we might be able to hear from him and see what he has. So I'd like to thank Chris Finn for joining us, giving us some updates from what we're seeing on the Australian disc golf scene. I'm excited to watch that unfold throughout this 2019 season. Congratulations to him for taking that event down. Look for the Australian Disc Golf Championships to also be released, as the commentary is being laid down on that as well. So you'll see that on my channel. So stay tuned for that. So for Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been podcast 231. We'll see you in the after show. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 231
After show. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh. Glad you could join us. Again, Terry and Johnny, and
Are people surprised we don't rehearse that?
I think it's pretty obvious, actually.
Are you sure?
I think it is, but maybe not. Seems like Mike Nickel, Zach Pajek out on the boards both know it's coming. As always, here in the after show, we get a little bit looser, talk about things that may or may not be disc golf related, and
Looser than our regular show tonight.
And most importantly, we love to interact with you on the YouTube chat board. So you may be watching on the Facebook chat or on the Facebooks and taking it in. And I apologize, we don't really follow that too closely, which maybe it would make sense that if we're going to put it there, we should follow it. But if you want to ask a question, provide a snarky remark, or second guess anything we're saying or doing, or maybe get in a fight about what disc is better, the best place to do all of that is on the YouTube chat board.
Disc Golf Nerds channel.
Just remember, it's heavily moderated by a handful of people. So if you get too naughty, they'll yell at you. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at our chat board to see what people are talking about. Zach says, Terry, you're going to stick with the center part as opposed to the sweep of the bangs.
That does, someone had brought it up, that does look a lot like the haircut I had when I first went to college in 1996.
Yes, very much so.
Mine was a little more of a bowl cut, but center part, long on the sides.
Yeah, I am undecided. In fact, I was just asked recently, like, what's the plan with your hair? And I'm just going to tell you, I really don't know. I don't want to say I'm at a crossroad because I'm committed to the idea of letting it grow a little bit longer, at least. But what I'm really trying to accomplish, I'm not sure. I just knew I didn't want it short any longer. So here we are.
It's funny you say that because I talked the last time I got my hair cut shorter. I talked to the woman at the salon, and when I go to sign up, I just say whoever's available at the place I go. I don't really care who cuts my hair. They're all perfectly fine there. And I just told her, I just want something different. I don't know what that is. I've had the same haircut for like 3.5 years or 4 years almost now. I would just love something different. And she's like, oh, what do you want? I said, I don't know. You pick it. And she's like, let's just go with what you have for now. And why don't you think about it? And I was like, all right, well, that's fine. I thought about, going back to an older style, maybe when I first started the podcast where it was combed a little bit more forward or a little messier. I don't think I would go as long as you. Definitely wouldn't go as long as you at this point, but just something different. And I don't know what that is yet. I'm definitely not going to go with the cool hip shaved on the sides thing. I'm too old for that. I I look around whenever I'm in there, and there's always like 2 or 3 guys getting their hair cut with the exact same style, long on the top, tight on the sides. It wouldn't work for multiple reasons. I've got, just shy of Ken Climo ears, which I like these. He's hide them, but I don't know. I'm at a loss like you as to what the next step is for hair.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to get things a little bit trimmed up, but for the most part, we're going to continue to let it grow and see what happens. All right, Marcus out there. Marcus had said something about not seeing himself on the Patreon list. Hopefully you got that taken care of. Terry,
I'll have to look at that.
Please adopt the Ulibarri Alibaba hairdo. Okay. Rowmore Disc Golf Store Facebook page has Zach Melton and James Conrad and Chris Dickerson at the Marksman League with live coverage from last Thursday. Okay. Has live coverage from last Thursday. That sounds like an oxymoron to some degree, but I think I know where you were going with that. Zach says he wants to see Terry with a man bun. Old school Yuli style. For those that don't know, I very much in college, late junior high. That was the official grunge phase. 8th grade, 9th grade for us. Was right around the time of the Chili Peppers and Nirvana and Pearl Jam, all the way through the second year of college. So from about 8th grade until my second year of college, I had long hair that was much longer than this, and wore it in a ponytail to some degree every day. It was all the same length, so it wasn't like a mullet style ponytail. It was all the same length. Very, very common for that era and time frame. And I don't know if I'm going to get quite to that style again. If I do have it in a length where there's a ponytail, that's possible. It will not be perched on the top of my head, aka man bun style.
I think the last time
will not be that way.
I seriously put a ponytail higher up on the back of my head was probably junior high. And then it was long enough in high school, but I would, maybe I did it for fun as a joke, but I would never go out in public like that.
Yeah. All right. Reading down further, not trying to be mean, but that hair. Yeah. I guess DGP is not going to tell us anything. We have to see what they have going on when they do the broadcast. Yeah, I know a lot of conversations been had out there. People saying, okay, that's great that JoMez has a plan. That's great that so-and-so has a plan. But what's the Disc Golf Pro Tour plan? Where's the second part of their, whatever it is they're releasing for a plan? I'm going to go ahead and say your guess is really officially as good as mine at the moment. I'm not sure exactly what their game plan is. I know that they are in the works of trying to get some nail down some commentators that are going to be part of the broadcast. You're not going to see the regulars in myself and
I don't think you're going to see a media plan until the first to second week of February. Just a wild guess.
You're talking 2 weeks off.
At least.
Okay. I'm wondering, with the announcement, should I say the schedule announcements by JoMez yesterday, does that give us any more clues or insight to what people should expect? Do you feel like there's like any hints or clues buried within that? With JoMez's schedule themselves?
Oh, I mean, I think everybody knows what we're going to see. And if you don't, then you're fooling yourself. We're going to see 2 crews, probably Gatekeeper and PSP, or Gatekeeper or PSP. I don't know which will be lead, or one of those crews is going to be the primary provider. The other one may be the secondary provider. I'm not 100% sure on that. You're going to see live with the cameras that they do. So you're going to see the post-production have the live cameras. We already know all this. And there'll be a third camera that'll do the slow-mo shots, just like JoMez and CCDG have provided. and they're going to be live for MPO and FPO. So that means FPO will probably start about 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. depending on, or maybe earlier depending on if you're on the West Coast and it happens to be an East Coast event. You're going to see live coverage every day. The only question is who is behind the cameras. Literally, that I think will be the only question: who's behind the cameras, who's behind the commentary. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think he knows who's behind the commentary yet. I would be shocked if his media plan actually even listed a single person.
Do you feel like
maybe one person, maybe he might have one person set for commentary who will then pair up with other people?
Okay, so
I don't know.
I'll ask the next question then is, what are you guys, and you, Johnny, maybe you are or aren't, but what is the world waiting to have spelled out in the second part of the media plan? Because Steve could go out there and say, happy birthday to my daughter, and the first response on his Facebook page is,
where's the
media
media
plan?
Great.
Happy birthday to your daughter, but where's the media plan? What I want to know is, what are people hoping to gain from the second part of that media plan in the first place? And maybe somebody on the board can answer that. Because I'll say this, I don't wait up or ponder or wonder or worry about what the second part of that media plan is. And I'm just curious as to why so many others.
It won't. I mean, here's what I will say. You don't have to worry. Dodge will not be doing commentary live.
Okay. Yep.
If he did a post-production commentary, who knows? I'm not 100% sure on Dixon. I don't think so, but I don't know for 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I talked to Dixon, he said he hadn't heard from Steve, and that there was that it was getting close, that he needed to start to know. So I don't know what people are waiting for. Me personally, I'm curious as to the behind the scenes stuff. I think you're not going to notice I don't want to say that. I was saying you're not going to notice a huge difference. You may notice a huge difference in the quality of what we provided versus what the new crew will provide, based on them getting their feet wet and learning the process. As a guy who runs all the switching software, I would love to know, hey, who's doing that for you? How are they doing it? What are the logistics? What is your workflow? Some of that I may never, some of that's not going to be in the media plan, and that's going to be word of mouth versus this or that, and hearing these things. But
and that, then, to be fair, for you to know all that stuff, that's nothing more than just being inquisitive, right?
Yes, completely.
I mean, that's just
100%.
like pure curiosity from your own perspective as a fellow media person. You're just curious as to how they're going to go about that, because you have no stock in it at that point whatsoever.
Zero stock or stake in it. I am just curious to know, because I know what Steve had talked about in the past. He had talked about a trailer with a built-in studio in the back of it that he wanted the switching guy to be in, possibly, and the commentators to be in, and that would be on site. Not that it's not possible, it's just extremely expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we're going to see that, to be completely honest. He's talked about remote commentators in different parts of the country. So having, let's just say, I'll throw out two names: Brian Schweberger on the East Coast with
Jamie
Thomas on the West Coast. And those are your two commentators. Now, again, those are just two names I made up. Don't freak out. And I just think that could work. It sounds miserable to me, because look at what we just did with Chris Finn.
It sounds logistically challenging to you, to clarify.
It sounds stupid.
Okay.
I'm going to flat out say it sounds stupid. And I think I told Steve that when he brought it to us. I said, I don't think it's a good idea. Look at how the communication was with Chris Finn and us. There's always a little delay. So we'll talk. You'll have to listen, because sometimes his computer will be late, and then he responds. There's always a delay. And so now you're sending signals out like that. That logistics sounds horrible to me. I think he'll try it? Maybe they're testing it right now and they realize it's not going to work. I hope they are. Maybe they're testing it and they find a great way to make it work that I completely missed. I just don't know what exactly other people are waiting for, because I think we have the general plan. So I don't know what part 2 is. Like part 2 could be sponsors for all we know.
Sure.
I don't think there's been a definition as to what part 2 of the media plan is that we're looking for.
Yeah, and that's why I bring it up, because I'm not sure. I just know that I'm not as concerned about it.
Yeah.
And when it's all said and done, I feel like people are going to tune in. People are going to watch, and they, you know, they're going to love it or leave it at that point. But they're going to tune in. They're going to watch, and they're going to have to decide for themselves if it's the product that they want, or even if it's the product they don't want. They still may watch anyway because it's what's being provided. So I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out. For a multitude of reasons. I'm excited. You know, there is a huge undertaking for that entire staff and crew at the Pro Tour to take on this year.
It's a huge undertaking.
You're going to have different people wearing, you know, similar hats to what they've worn in the past, but probably a few new roles, which is going to come with a few challenges. And they're very much looking to improve on anything that we couldn't or didn't improve on. And obviously that's their number one goal, is to improve on those types of things. So I'm excited to see it, and I look forward to all of it in actually just a few weeks from now.
Same here, and I've said it 100 times. I stand behind Steve's decisions because he has proven so far that he has been in the right with most of what he's done as far as creating the tour. So shedding what he's had in the media and moving onward may be the right decision. We won't know until we see the product. There's always a chance for it to go wrong. There's always a chance for it to go extremely right.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to watching with everybody else what happens. And I wish him the best of luck. I want him to succeed because I want disc golf to succeed. And if live can come out and blow the doors off, that's going to create more opportunities for us.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And as I read off the board, JT says, I'll watch, but if it's really poor, I'll be disappointed. I think we all will. I totally agree with that. The dude says, I understand why Steve is doing it. JoMez was set to make like $70,000 on Patreon this year with Steve's product. I just don't think Steve can pull it off within a year. You know, and we've talked about that, you know, countless times, the dude, in that, you know, some of these production companies are making either money on their own or money through their own sponsors. And then some of that, if not all of that, is also then revenue that's being missed out on by the Pro Tour side of things in a different, well, similar or different way, however you want to look at it. But that's revenue that's also being missed out on the Pro Tour side. And when the Pro Tour brings everything in-house and has control of all media, all sponsors, all production, those are all economies of scale and a way to consolidate and make things a little bit more advantageous from the Pro Tour side. So,
and I think they're going to get, hands down, regardless of what the quality is for the first event, they're going to get hammered because it's not CCDG. It's not JoMez. It could be 98% as good as JoMez or CCDG, and people are still going to complain that it's not them. It's not the color scheme. It's not the intro that they're used to. It's not, even if it all goes swimmingly, and I think Steve knows that, but people will forget. It kind of reminds me of what was just announced in Milwaukee today. Our stadium, Miller Park, after the year 2020, will no longer be called Miller Park.
What? Oh my God. How will I ever go watch a baseball game there? Because it has a different name on the frickin' stadium.
The Miller Brewery had I think about a 20-year license at $40 million when they signed it. And it's going to be called something American Family. Who knows? They haven't decided on a name. And that's great. And a lot of us will still continue to call it Miller Park for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, people will forget. And it will be AmFam Field or AmFam Stadium or whatever they come up with. And no one will remember the past. And that is what's going to happen. People will forget when it comes to the Pro Tour. They will set a standard, whether it's better or worse than what we are used to, and people will accommodate and learn to deal with that. So, I think it's silly for anybody at this point to be holding their breath for Media Plan Part 2, because I honestly don't think there's going to be hardly anything in that Media Plan Part 2 that's going to make people go like, "Whew, glad I saw that."
Yeah.
I don't think we're getting it.
All right. We'll get back to the Miller Park here in a moment, but as I'm reading a few more, Hodel Hand says opening the door for Salient. I think that's definitely in the work. Zachary Swanson, a winner of our Patreon giveaway in the last few weeks, and I'm definitely reminded of that because Zachary, your Patreon gift went out today. So look for that in the next few days. Thank you for the support. You're a winner and then some. All right. Tim Court says it should be renamed to Terry Miller Park. No. But I did see that in the news, as you just alluded to. And for those who aren't familiar, Miller Park, of course, home of the Milwaukee Brewers here. Maybe more famously even known for, because let's face it, the Brewers
have been doing very well the past couple of years.
Exactly. I was going to say the past couple of years. But more famously known for the fact that the roof retracts and that it can completely cover the field. Hosted the All-Star game how many years ago? Probably quite a few.
Oh, it was shortly after the stadium opened, so that might have been 2002 or 3,
yep.
4.
But as Johnny just said, and it did make me think about tournaments today. Tournaments that have had the same name. You think of Maple Hill. Obviously,
changing to Vibram.
Yeah, exactly.
Changing to MVP.
The Maple Hill Open, whatever the case might be. Very interesting that you have to wonder because the terms were not disclosed as to what the new amounts were.
I have to assume it's 60 to, well, who knows what the length of time is. If you're assuming it's another 20-year contract, it was $40 million originally with economies of scale and the increase in what baseball has had. I have to assume it's got to be, if you're looking at the same time, 80 to 100 million.
Maybe.
It could be more. It could be a little less.
What I really will say is I hope they come up with a name that is mildly creative, that's not and
that's not going to happen.
I know, and that's what I worry about, because like Fam Park or American Family
Field
like is such a mouthful. And that's what that would be my only input, not that anyone's asking me. And I understand they're paying $100 million
to
maybe
have their name on
to
it.
have their naming rights, and I get it, but man, American Family Insurance Park.
It's good to be a fan of Milwaukee sports right now because the Brewers are spending money and they're playing well. The Bucks are one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league right now, and they just had a brand new arena open up this year. It's called Fiserv Arena, which to me, I don't know if it's better or worse than the Bradley Center. Yeah, I'm not sure. I do love it. Will be hard. I do love Miller Park. I think it's a great name. It fits with Milwaukee's history. It fits with Milwaukee, but ultimately people will forget it. We had County Stadium for so long. The question is,
will Miller Products still be there?
Yes, Miller Products will still be there. That's what they
they say it will, but I think that's also a polite PR move right now.
It could be right now. Here's a question for you. 2 of them. One, what would be, and they're related, would there be huge backlash if Lambeau Field's name was changed or Wrigley Field's name was changed? Would there be, because I would equate those 2 places at the same level of hallowed ground for their sports. Lambeau Field and Wrigley Field. You are looking at 2 of the most iconic places in each of their sports.
Correct. However, the longevity is there for both of those, more so.
Sure.
Right?
But if someone said, "Hey, I'm going to give you $500 million to take Wrigley's name off of it and put Smashbox on it, and now it's Smashbox Stadium," they would be hard pressed to say no, depending on if licensing contract expires, this and that. Same with Lambeau. If you can hand someone that much money and say, we're going to rename it, how long until we have naming rights for disc golf courses?
Well, and that's exactly where my mind was
itself.
going. Yeah, and that's where my mind was going earlier today when I did see the article, because I was thinking about the naming rights for a course, the presenting rights for coverage, because we see that occasionally happen. Usually at your national tours, you have a little bit more. We've had a little bit more leeway. It can be the Beaver State Fling presented by Keen but coverage brought to you by Dynamic Disc, just as I did last year, for instance. Whereas some of the other events that won't fly. And it depends on where you are when it comes to your media outlet and what you're trying to accomplish there. It's really an interesting space for us to be in, because I think about the manufacturer or the presenting sponsor that are hosting the event or have put up to have their naming rights on that event. And I'm going to say, I feel like this is where some of the struggles come in with the Pro Tour, a little bit with maybe JoMez, and a little bit with all of our production crews. When I go as far as saying, like, and we talked about this on the show, so it's really nothing new, but last year when they were talking about having JoMez possibly not be at Ledgestone, and there was an entire, hubbub about that, it was large in part due to the fact that Discraft puts up, 5 or 6 figures to help make the Ledgestone Insurance Open be the biggest event on the planet in a lot of regards. But JoMez was showing up, and as part of their media agreements with Innova, who was not financially supporting the Disc Golf Pro Tour directly, JoMez was running primarily Innova commercials during that Ledgestone event. And that's a legitimate concern. To whom and how big of a concern is the real question, but that's something that has to be considered. And I'll be interested to see how that kind of shakes out. And not just them, obviously all of us, because it impacts me, it impacts Central Coast, it impacts everyone, for how those relationships continue to unfold and develop. Because as much as I say that, I also recognize that one particular manufacturer to be on the hook, so to speak, for all of these levels of support is a very daunting task. I'll use the Las Vegas Challenge as an example. Innova supporting the Las Vegas Challenge. Innova obviously sponsors plenty of players that are at it. They sponsor the actual event and put in a lot of time, money, and resources into the Las Vegas Challenge. Innova then also would be supporting the media coverage and so players, the course, the tournament, and then the media. Like, where do you draw the line as to what else they could possibly be supporting at any given event? Those are all the different facets of people coming to them looking for some kind of support. So I understand that challenge, and I don't know how we're going to get over it.
There's regarding Wrigley Field, currently there are no naming rights at Wrigley Field because the Ricketts own own basically the Cubs, and they have like a $700 million stock in it. But they're saying that it could, in theory, raise upwards of $8 to $10 million a year for the Cubs, which would break down to approximately $5 to $6 million a year for their salary cap, allowing them to sign better players, more players, this and that. My guess is Miller Park is probably they originally signed a $2 million a year contract. I have to assume that's $4 to $6 million now, based on the Braves have a $10 million a year contract. Okay. So it's, I don't know. I would have to, and again, you go along Lambeau Field, I would probably think it's got to be close to that as well, being a privately held sports organization, technically publicly held.
Yeah, well.
Depending on how you want to define that.
All right. Well, anyway, those are kind of some ramblings about where we are in the media, and I'm not sure how it's all going to shake out, but call it behind the scenes, call it some just thoughts.
How much?
Audible thoughts. But.
What do you think the naming rights for Uli are? You think, how much a year do you think we get him to make him change his name to Paul Smashbox Ulibarri?
That's a good question. Would his caddy have to get a different tattoo? Because his caddy does have his tattoo on his calf.
I would just make him fill it in with blue.
Okay. That Smashbox blue we talked about earlier?
Correct.
Huh. I don't know, but that would be a good idea. Maybe we could do that.
I see Yuli was popped in on the board, which made me
Let's ask him. Yuli, what will you sell out for? Well, I think we could probably have Uli for a little bit if you're up for it.
I'm up for it.
No,
It was a pretty quick
so
night.
much of
We're
that
only
guy. I'm
at
going to see him in a few
currently
days.
11 o'clock.
So I don't know if I want him on too long, but I'll deal with it. All right, we'll see if we can dial him up. Let me send him a quick message.
Yeah, have him dial us up and call, and we'll make sure to get him
Call
on.
in, and we'll see what he's got to say. So if you got any questions lined up for Uli, feel free to get them ready. A Smashbox face tattoo, I think that's a good idea.
Shout out to Dutch Napier, who has a Smashbox tattoo.
What we believe is the one and only Smashbox tattoo in the world. Neither Johnny or myself have one. So
No, Jamie Thomas and I talked about that in our quiz about tattoos and whether either of us have one. And at some point, do you get too old to just get your first tattoo?
to get you.
Where you feel like, is this a midlife crisis at this point?
I feel like if I'm going to grow up my hair and get an IROC. I think we talked
An
about that a
IROC
few
Z.
weeks. Yep, a few weeks ago. And then then tattoo.
It's the next step.
What is a classic midlife crisis tattoo though? Like I mean, some tattoos would not scream or yell midlife crisis, because if I went and got a Cubs tattoo tomorrow, like
No.
that doesn't scream midlife crisis.
Would, at your age, getting like the
The barbed
the
wire?
barbed wire or the,
The
tribal
fact that I don't have
tattoo?
any muscles.
I know.
Right? Although I did get some vaccines today, so my arm is really sore, so I can travel
Oh, should I
internationally.
punch you.
That's for another story.
Like at your age, probably a tribal or a barbed wire tattoo would probably scream midlife crisis to me.
Okay. So some great suggestions. Tribal has come in as expected. A Corvette, an anchor, a hula girl, scorpion tattoo, a sweet dragon sleeve, tattoo mother, okay, baby's daddy name in cursive.
These are just cheesy tattoos. I'm talking midlife crisis
we need
tattoos.
ones that scream midlife crisis, though. Got to get a basket, an eagle. Yeah, I mean, could you just go with like an anchor and an eagle and an American flag? Does that scream midlife crisis tattoo, though?
It might.
I think that stuff's all too tough for me. La Nina Open, Chris Rodriguez. Make sure you get signed up. It's on that West Coast swing, women's only tournament that he's putting on up in Washington. There's your shout out. And thank you for the super chat, Chris. We appreciate it.
Let's ask the man who has all the answers. He's got his own documentary length blogs.
Yep.
Paul Ulibarri. Paul, we're asking a question. What's a good midlife crisis tattoo to get?
That just screams midlife crisis.
Oh man, I feel like probably those I gotta be careful with what I say. I feel like
Because you know somebody with one. Yep.
because I know there's a bunch of people with these. So
Patrick Brown's not listening. Don't worry.
How about like I can't even say.
Yeah, you can.
Come on, spit it out.
All right, how about the barbed wire tattoos?
Yep.
No,
That's what we said. Barbed wire or like a tribal tattoo around your arm at our age
I
screams
like
midlife
the
crisis.
tribal tattoo, but more like a Corvette. Like just the name Corvette or something.
Yep.
Like some sort of fast car on there, or
Does Drew Gibson have a fast car tattoo somewhere? I could see that.
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. He's getting a lot of tattoos, man, but they actually look pretty good. I like Drew's tattoos.
I think they're great, and it's been amazing to see fellow teammate of yours, Austin Turner. When I saw him at I think it was Throw Down the Mountain last year, and he was kind of describing him and showing him off during one of the backups. The amount of money that he has spent and just the diversity, like I just have no idea where his mind or head is going with all of like the diversity of tattoos that he's got on his arms. Do you know how many he's up to?
No clue. I didn't count.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of. There's a lot of people. I feel like at my age and younger, if you don't have a tattoo, you're like probably like in the minority, you know?
Okay.
Do you have a tattoo?
No, that's what I'm saying. So like did I say that right? So me not having one.
Okay.
Yeah, put you in the minority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
feel like you're
At my
getting
age, because most everybody has one, you know?
Yeah, do you feel like you're getting too old to get that first tattoo? Do you have any inkling of getting a tattoo?
Oh, I like that. You know, I've thought about it, but if I were to get one, I wouldn't just get one. I would do like probably a full sleeve or something like that. I wouldn't just do like I don't really like just one tattoo, you know. I'd have to like have a whole picture on there or something.
And what would it be? What would it represent? What would it symbolize if you were to get one?
Oh man, I don't know. I've thought about getting my Uli's logo somewhere. I've thought about different things, just like places I've been, you know.
A full back tattoo, like a concert T-shirt with all the places you've been.
No, you know, like a cool scenery or something that, like, you know, I remember. And at this point, it's like a lot of places don't really stand out, and so the ones that do are probably pretty spectacular to me. So I'd probably, you know.
Will you get a tattoo if you win Worlds? And that's
another thing. I've thought about that too, or as well. I've thought about getting. I always had the idea when I won Worlds to get my Am Worlds tattoo and then the Pro Worlds tattoo and like integrate them.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath of it in cursive, suck it, Paul Macbeth.
Probably a good thing I haven't won Worlds because I don't have to worry about getting a tattoo.
Yeah, I mean John Tompkins, he seems fully committed to that idea. As
but
Big Best caddy.
He's won Worlds, yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty crazy story, right? A caddy caddying for Worlds, and he gets the tattoos as opposed to Paul.
You know, it means a lot to John. They're really close, so I totally get it.
And as we referenced earlier before we had you on, your good friend and caddy, Alan Stewart, who lives just 15, 20 minutes west of where I am, he's got the Uli tattoo on his calf, and you didn't even know that was going to happen. He just showed up at the memorial and was like, bam, you're on my leg forever.
Yeah, he surprised me, and he's like, I even got it done in Phoenix. He was super stoked, and I was super stoked. I mean, it looks really good, and Alan's all in, you know. He's got my back, so.
Absolutely. So we're seeing this transition of people like Alan. He's a great example, or I'll say Shane Holly, who I feel like have been close to you, have known you, have looked up to you, have befriended you. And as you transitioned over to Discraft this year, they're right along for that ride. Now, is that something Discraft kind of accounted for? You know, that as players and the people who look up to them, as they transition over, they know they're going to have that pull and that following that goes with it?
I feel like, yeah, that definitely comes with it. You know, I know that I have really close and tight-knit friends and a tight-knit group that I hang out with. You know, my family's a whole nother situation. I consider Alan family, you know, and so that I knew that was going to happen for sure, and they knew that, and they knew, you know, me switching that. My brother would come along as well, you know. We that's just the way that we are. We stick together with whatever we do, and you know, that type of support is incredible. So with that being said, I think they kind of know that with me.
Yeah, it's and I've kind of poked a little bit of fun at, not necessarily the really tight, close-knit people I understand, but I have poked a little bit of fun throughout the weeks of these people that just flat out post and be like, I've never thrown a Discraft disc before, but Paul Macbeth's throwing them now, so I threw out my bag, and now I spent $500 on a whole new bag. And
but that's
exactly what Discraft was counting for. I get it.
That's what you count on when you start
signing
pros.
It's still easy to kind of poke a little bit at them and be like, well, if you were 750 rated, I'm not sure throwing out your whole bag and all new
Maybe
discs
if you're
is
750
gonna bring you
rated,
to
maybe that's the
950.
right decision.
I'm just saying it's not going to bring you from 750 to 950 overnight, and I think that's maybe some of the promise that some of them have buried within.
Oh, Paul, we lost your video. Oh,
There you go.
Cool.
We got you.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
I was having a little bit of a bad connection, so I was making sure my battery was all good.
So
But
give
it's
us
the same thing, in sports. Like Steph Curry switches to Nike, and the people are going to buy his shoes for sure. I wear Hardens. I'm a big Harden fan and always have been, and I wear his shoes, and he's with Adidas. So,
so give us a breakdown. Where were you this last weekend? What was going on?
I was in Lake Havasu, one day tournament.
Your first Discraft win? Is that correct?
It was, yeah.
Tell us about it.
It was good. It got really windy. It's kind of a more wide open course compared to other tournaments of the weekend. I mean, Phoenix is all pretty much wide open, but this one is more of your classic desert course, where really rocky, dirt and more bushes and wind to account for than shot shaping.
And so you played 2 rounds in one day. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you feel like your skills are dialed? Not your skills. Do you feel like all your shots are dialed in to where you really wanted them to be by now? Do you feel like you're comfortable? No.
No, not even close.
So now what?
I just keep working.
Why aren't you out in the field right now?
What
are you doing?
For me, it's a great confidence builder that I can, work around that, whatever I'm struggling with, and I'm good enough to where I can kind of stay away from those things and then use what I'm doing really well. And I got the win this weekend because of that. I know my game kind of inside and out. I've played it a long time, and I know that the discs that I have right now are working really good for certain things, and I was able to do that this weekend.
What are you lacking? What will you be out working on tomorrow?
I'm working on a lot of left to right shots. I've gained probably 50 feet on my hyzer game, which is great. It's a big, especially in the wind. And 50 feet's not an exaggeration. Like, I've gained a lot of distance, but I haven't been able to find my comfort. My comfort zone's kind of about 380 to 400 foot. I have those shots dialed in from a small left to right shot. I can throw really straight far and flip up hyzers, and I'm lacking that right now. I haven't found a flippy enough disc to kind of feel that roll, and I think I have to beat in the disc that I have in order to get comfortable with that shot.
What's been the disc that has surprised you most moving over, that you feel yourself being drawn to more often than other ones?
The ringer.
And are you using that for short forehand approaches or short backhand approaches, or?
Yeah, I originally wanted it for my short forehand approaches to kind of replace my putter that I used to throw a lot. And I just fell in love with it backhand. Like, I actually gained a shot that I have never had with that disc, which is, been a big gap in my career for forever, which is like about 250 to 280. I always threw sidearm and not backhand, and now I'm throwing a lot of those shots because it's got a small profile rim. I've never thrown backhand putters off the tee, but with that one, I can actually power grip it, and it doesn't go far.
Yeah, and so there's a stability to it that you love as well, I assume.
Oh, it's matching my arm speed on that comfort level. Like, it's really, really good. And so that's probably the biggest surprise. And then, of course, my backhand hyzers, like, the discs are just going a lot further than I was used to.
So give us a little preview. I'm going to see you in a couple days as I come out to Maricopa on Friday, but give us a preview for those who aren't going to be there. New course in play this year for the first time, the Copper Sky, which I haven't seen personally, just actually installed not too long ago. What can people expect from both courses? Give everyone a breakdown.
I've never played that other one. I'm actually going early tomorrow morning to practice that course. So
it's your favorite course.
I'm not sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maricopa, a community 35, 40 minutes south of Phoenix, depending on where you are, right?
Yep.
Put that in perspective for everyone. And then Sam and the crew over there put together a featured card. And did that officially get finalized as to who's going to be featured in the first round video?
I believe so. I think it's going to be Anthony Barilla, Graham Russell, and myself. And then I'm not sure what spot got bought out.
Okay.
But I know that there's a spot that was bought by somebody.
Awesome.
Or somebody bought for somebody or sponsored for somebody. Don't quote me on those details, but I'm pretty sure that's the card.
Well, and quickly, I want to give a quick shout out to Lucky Disc Golf, who has worked with the event and is working with me on the video side. I think they just stepped in recently to be part of the coverage and part of the action. So I personally want to say thank you to Lucky Disc Golf. I think the event and everyone else will say that as well, but I wanted to throw that out there as well. It sounds like they're stepping up and doing quite a few big things this year. Are you familiar with what they've got going on?
I'm really not, but I've been kind of out of the loop the last couple months as far as local scene kind of goes.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see how it all unfolds. We're looking at Maricopa this weekend. What's between that and say Vegas and the Memorial, which are then just a few weeks away? Do you have anything going on in between those?
I'm flying to Detroit and doing some things out there, and then I'll be in Vegas. So this will be my last tournament before Vegas.
And Detroit meaning Discraft neck of the woods? Okay.
Yep.
I guess real quickly then, for anyone that doesn't know, Discraft's headquarters located 35 minutes outside of Detroit, somewhere in that neighborhood, roughly. So
is it Lansing?
No.
Milford?
Milford, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say,
is it Milford?
Or Wixom.
Or Fenton, maybe.
No. They were in Wixom, and now they're right across the street in a different. Either way, out in that neck of the woods, not far from where we saw the course used out in Milford this last year as well. Just 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so from there. What else do you have to share with us? I was going to lead
new podcast.
Yeah, tell us about your new podcast. Tell us about the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast is going to be Brian, myself. We'll have a statistician as well. We're trying to find the perfect guy for the job as far as that goes. But yeah, we're going to be going kind of a different side of disc golf and talking about more of the mental game, kind of breaking down tournaments as far as what happened mentally for the players instead of just talking about, this person won, that person won. We're kind of try to get into why it happened and, who kind of choked, who didn't choke, what is choking, because I feel like that gets thrown around a lot. And yeah, we're super excited about it and try to just give everybody a different look from a different, kind of view. I feel like everybody's just focused on the play and how to get better that way. But really at our level, the mental side is probably the most important.
Are you at all concerned when you're reviewing an event or reviewing a situation as it unfolds from a previous weekend that you're going to offend or say, oh, so-and-so really mentally, lapsed here? Or are you at all worried about commentating on your peers?
I've thought about that, and I think it comes down to, I hope they would understand it, with the experience that I've had. Like, you're looking at, if anybody wanted to judge my performances and stuff, you could call me a choke artist my whole career. So I feel like I'm kind of the perfect guy to be able to talk about those things, because I've definitely dealt with a lot of failure in my career, and I've had a lot of successes as well. So I think people will kind of realize that. And if they take offense to it, that's on them.
They'll see you in 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, I know, personally that I mean no offense to anybody with all that stuff. And that's just, that's just what's going to have to happen.
Well, and I'll say it, we've obviously been accused of either going soft on some of our interviews or maybe not asking tough questions or along those lines. And I always say it is a little different in that I typically see most of you guys, most of these weekends, more often than not. We are usually, with most people, I'm friends with them outside of the podcast. And, there's things that I know that you may not want shared or asked of. And it all just makes for a different dynamic than your typical reporter asking Tom Brady a question. Like they may know each other and have somewhat of a relationship, but rarely are they as close as we are in the disc golf community, which obviously can be really good, but it can also have a drawback where maybe there's not enough distance between us and I may be uncomfortable asking you certain questions. I mean,
right. Which is why I kind of want to do this. I want disc golf to move forward, and it's too soft. There's a lot of soft thing that goes on. Everybody's trying to not step on each other's shoes, and really when it comes down to it, none of us are trying to do that. It is what it is, I've thought about those type. Like I said, I've had plenty of failures, and I've made the final. Now I've led the World Championships 4 times, almost all the way through in my career, and I have no titles. Like, I'm one of the people that knows that failure, and if somebody wants to take offense to that, I've been really open in my career with saying how I felt mentally, and if I, even post tournaments, and kind of let everybody know exactly how I felt and why it happened or something like that. And a lot of people really aren't that honest, and so I hopefully they know that that's just me.
Well, I'm excited to hear about it, and as the two of you on tour talking about your peers should be a really interesting topic to see how it unfolds and the insights that you guys have for any given event.
So where does the podcast differ from the vlogs that you're doing?
Oh, my vlogs will be just kind of things with myself personally, and kind of going through my life, what's going on. That first one was just man, it's a lot of work, guys. I tried to do my best, and it was just so much content, and in order for me to put out a quality vlog about leading up to my tournament, I didn't even focus in on a lot of things I wanted to focus in, and it still lasted almost 30 minutes. And if I were to have cut it in half and had no content, then it's just me sitting there talking and being like, oh yeah, this doesn't work, and I'm kind of shuffling my putt around, So it's really hard to balance. And for a first one, I think it went really well, and I know to keep it kind of under 10 minutes, and I knew that going in, but I also wanted to put something out there that could be helpful to somebody out there, and in order to do that, it had to be a little bit longer.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think having that as the first episode is forgivable if you can,
Right.
if you, like you said, all right, this is what I do on a prep day or a prep week, and then whittle it down from there. Try to get it to 10 to 15 minutes or shorter.
And that's what I'm going to try to do. Actually, the one that people could get excited about is I'm going to be doing a fitness one. I'm a little out of shape, so I think I'm going to weigh in tomorrow and start a vlog that lasts until the Memorial. And then I think that one will be interesting. So that'll be a fun one. So just little things like that, what my days are like. That'll be a fun one that, it'll last a while, but it'll be pretty short. I think it'll just be me kind of weighing in, letting people know what I'm doing to try to, shred some weight, my healthy, my bad habits along with my good habits, and getting rid of my bad habits, what it's going to take. So that'll be a fun thing. So that's kind of where my vlogs taking over. But the podcast will be something completely different, and we're not going to be just completely crushing people's dreams. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm not going to just be well, James Conrad missed another 20-footer down the stretch. This guy, Like, it's not going to happen like that. And we're not so sure that we'll even touch base on a lot of tournaments, but just the mental side, and we might use examples from the tournaments to bring up maybe a subject that's important to talk about.
And do you plan on those being weekly?
I think we're going to try to do every 2 weeks.
Okay. And now you've talked about it quite a bit. You, Brian, on tour. Does that mean, like, the duration of the year you guys plan on being at every single event together? Do you see your schedules varying for any given period of time for any reason? You know, he has an obligation, or you do, or anything like that?
Yeah, no, Brian and I and Austin are going to be going hard all year.
Okay.
All the big tournaments will be there. We'll be setting up clinics and things. We're doing a clinic series similar to like Sexton Shootout or something like that throughout the whole year. So we'll be setting up those in between tournaments and stuff. So we're going to be going definitely pretty hard. My schedule is going to be packed this year for sure.
You and a pair of lefties, huh?
Pair of lefties, I know.
I mean,
it's going to be interesting. My lefty is definitely going to get better, so that's good.
Can we assume there's going to be some side bets action and a little bit of challenges from one to another? Maybe you guys should keep a running yearly total of strokes or something like that. There's another component of the vlog.
It's possible. It's definitely possible.
Like, I don't know, one tattoo per stroke. So at the end of the year, somebody's got to get 19 tattoos or something.
Oh, 19.
Hopefully I do get a tattoo after this year and get that world title.
There you go. How excited are you to go? We're going to be, Discraft largely supporting, of course, the Ledgestone, but I'm going to assume they'll have a large part of the World Championships. Place like Lake Eureka, you've talked it up. You really enjoy the course and the challenges that it has. Obviously, the new course configuration we're going to find at Northwood. You've got to like your chances there as well as anywhere else, right?
I'm so excited. I talked about it last year at the beginning of the year, how excited I was about Green Mountain and that I was going to have a good chance. And I feel the same way about Peoria, and I feel honestly the same way about Utah. I think these next 2 years are going to be, my best chance to get a world title for sure, especially with elevation in Utah. I'm so excited about that. I've never played, a world championship at that elevation, which is what I learned to play on.
Yeah, now, we talked about it a little bit last week that 3 separate Pro Tour, either, affiliate or test events taking place on that May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I believe you're one of the guys that is committed to Utah. I know you've had a really good relationship with Jade and the crew over there. Some good decisions, tough decisions for our players to make on that weekend, though, isn't there?
It's really tough decisions. You have San Diego, you have Utah,
and the 303.
The 303 Open, Colorado.
Yep.
And I actually haven't made up my mind which one I'm going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one would think, you have a familiarity with being at Utah, so you already know what Creekside and Mulligan's look like, but you haven't seen their new course, and that's obviously going to be in play for Worlds in 2020. So, but you could go someplace new like San Diego or over to the 303. So it'll be interesting to see what will sway your decision. Is it where the 2 lefties want to go?
No.
Or better yet, do you want to go to a righty course so the 2 lefties don't have an advantage?
I'm going to be pushing Discraft hard, and so I'm going to be choosing the spot where I'll be best to set up the clinics and things like that, and get the most value out of that. Okay,
that makes perfect sense. So we talked about it on the show, and I'll ask you: was it or was it not your idea to go with these 10 questions of Paul Macbeth and the Ledgestone Insurance Open today?
What's that?
Was that your marketing idea? The 10 questions of Paul Macbeth and the Ledgestone Insurance Open?
No.
Okay, you're off the hook.
No.
Stick with that answer.
Okay, good. All right, I'll leave it at that for now. Johnny, what are they asking on the board for you?
No idea.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we're trying to read on the board for you so that we can keep all up to speed. So one thing that you just touched on that I think is really interesting is with the three of you on tour, the opportunities to do clinics, the opportunities to spread the Discraft love, so to speak. What are you looking for in an event? Is it the fact that Discraft is supporting it, or is it the opposite? Discraft maybe not supporting that event as large, but you want to still come in there and have a Discraft presence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, what's your angle?
Honestly, that's kind of that's going to be my mentality this year. Is a lot of people are kind of going and setting up these clinics and different things, you know, kind of following the tour. And my style, my whole career has been I've completely avoided the tour when I could. You know, everybody's playing one event, I'll go completely across the country to another event, and that was just for me to gain confidence and play against a weaker field and make money. You know. And now, with this, you know, this Discraft and the support I have with Austin and Brian, if we can take that to one of those tournaments and then run these clinics and these doubles events, which is probably what we're going to be doing, where I don't have to compete with all these other clinics and all those things, and that's, you know, that I'm getting way more value in that, and those people are going to appreciate it a lot more.
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to tap into markets that possibly either aren't saturated or are underserved. That's the philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like it. Is there any pocket or section of the country or a state in particular that you know that you're going to be able to have a big impact in this year?
I want to go into California.
Okay.
You know, being right next to Arizona, I love California. I've made a lot of trips out there, and I feel like there's not a lot of Discraft out there, so I wanna hit that hard.
Awesome. All right. Got anything else for us? I feel like we talk to you a lot, so we get a lot of good info, but we get it more often than most of our guests. So,
yeah.
Do you have any other new or exciting?
Ask me. You guys need any advice? I'm here for you guys. Come on.
Oh gosh, how does Eric McCabe? I'll ask you a putting question. How does Eric McCabe go 5 for 5 on the 5 stations during a marksman league? Did you hear about that?
Because he's a world champion.
okay, but he's the
he's
first
one of the hottest
person.
putters. Like when that guy gets on fire with the putter, like he's one of the hottest putters that, you know, has ever played the game.
He is the only person that we know of, I think, according to
statistically,
UDisc, that has hit all 5 stations in a marksman league for a perfect round. And maybe it's no surprise to yourself or myself, but he's the only one to ever do it. That's pretty impressive.
I mean, I've seen him do that at a few what was it, Glassblown Open, where, you know, we were at I think one of the bars or something, and we had a putting contest where and he just blew it up. I think he made 22 in a row or something crazy. Not on a marksman, but he did it in under like a certain amount of time, and it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. So no surprise there when that guy, like I said, when he gets hot, like, you know,
he just knows his stroke. He's very good with it, and he's very consistent. Release point, form, everything for his putt is just it doesn't change. Everyone's saying like he changes his putters quite frequently as far as the model, but you know, those are tiny adjustments for him. So especially at that distance.
He was the best putter in the world for I believe for a few years, and then I think he had an injury where he like fell off the back of a truck and broke his wrist, and that changed a lot of things. So I remember the Eric McCabe before that, and it sounds like maybe that guy's back. And if he is, then look out.
Look out. Even in that Masters field where he's eligible. So, needless to say, he's quite a stark contrast from you, who may change up his putting style 6 times in a tournament. And Eric hasn't changed it in 20 years.
So yeah, somebody talked to me about that actually recently, because at the Worlds this year, the first round, I putted completely different than I did the next 2 rounds.
and then the 4th round, it was something totally different.
You didn't even put with the same putter or the same stroke. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't feeling that other putt that round. Like, how could you possibly do that?
So speaking of putters and this, you know, I talked about people close to you. I think a very fair question to ask this year: with Macbeth moving to Discraft, with yourself, your brother, and a few other people from Arizona and other people you're close with, Anthony Barella has to at least be brought into that conversation. Would a Barella, I don't want to say be convinced or swayed, or maybe not, I don't know, brought over? Was there a conversation, now that he's probably under contract and you are, but was there at least conversations?
I'm always whispering into ears, Terry.
Okay. Usually you blow sweet nothings and then you whisper things to follow.
I said it last year. I would be shocked if we did not see Anthony Barella throwing Discraft discs in the next year and a half. Assuming,
I've asked him about it, and he's set on what he's doing. He loves his discs, and he likes, he's playing great right now. I'm playing with him tomorrow, and he's just, I played a league round today with him where he beat everybody by 7 strokes, including myself and Wysocki. So the kid's like, I don't think he's going to be switching anytime soon, which is, probably
good for him
right now in his best interest as far as how his bag is and how he's throwing. But I would love to have him on Team Discraft. Are you kidding me? Like, he's an awesome kid. His family's great. He has a lot of support out here, and yeah, of course. But any company would be lucky to have Anthony.
So we talked about with Chris Finn, and I'll bring this up with you. I know you're a betting man as well, but with Chris Finn, I made a wager that we would see an international world champion by the end of next year's Worlds, by 2020.
MPO and FPO.
MPO or FPO. Yeah, that we would see a world champion come from somewhere outside the U.S. Is that a $100 bet you would take? That we would see?
I think that in the women's division, that's very likely. Evelina. What is her best friend's name? I'm sorry, last name starts with a B. Anyways, they're like battling a lot over there in Finland, and Kristen Tatar. Yeah, they got a lot of talent coming up, and I could definitely see that. As far as the men's field goes, it's definitely possible. I mean, Seppo Paio, Simon Lizotte, those guys have been playing great golf the last couple of years and can win at any time. But they have a tougher field to go against. So
I agree. So you would not take a $100 bet, or would you, saying that an international person will win?
I would take the bet in the MPO. It was just an MPO thing.
Okay. So okay. I follow you. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see.
Because then you're essentially taking Seppu and Simon against the field, which is a good bet.
Unless a KJ Naibo showed up and played well a particular week.
He plays Masters, I think.
Is he playing Masters now? I'm not sure what he's doing for Worlds. So.
Should be interesting. All right, Uli. We don't have much else for you, buddy.
Are you doing all your own editing for your video blogs and all that stuff? You're doing all of that, or are you handing that off to some lackey?
No lackey. My girlfriend's been helping me out a lot.
And what are you using? What program?
iMovie was the first one that I've been moving, but we're gonna upgrade to a different format here soon.
What are you gonna go to?
I'm not a tech guy. I don't know, but I know it's gonna be better.
Like
I can barely turn on my computer, man.
What's that?
I can barely turn on my computer, so I'm so like technology is just over my head.
Which I'm going to go ahead and say is somewhat surprising. I would pick you as a technology guy.
Yeah, no, not at all.
He's got you fooled.
Not even a little bit.
Not like your brother.
Are you like? Did you just call me kind of a nerd?
No,
he called you a Luddite.
Yeah, I think you did.
No,
he said you look like a nerd, but you're really a Luddite.
Oh, sadly, I don't even know what a Luddite is. Maybe it's not sadly.
No, it's like just someone who is not good with technology at all, or
No,
funny.
it was a compliment in that I would assume you'd have no problems with technology. But
Yeah, it's
if you're
tough
going to
for
tell
me.
us you're dumb, then I'm okay with that too.
Definitely uneducated in that area.
Okay. I'll see your brother this weekend, probably your mom as well. All in the support
Hey,
network.
easy.
That's a
Yeah.
fair question.
And my stepfather,
And your stepfather.
There you go.
Johnny.
I'm not going to be there. I'm just saying.
No, but we'll see
Yeah,
them
they'll-
down there taking in all the action in Maricopa. Is that right?
We'll have the whole crowd out there for sure. It's going to be great. I think the weather is supposed to be like fantastic, maybe a little bit breezy one of the days, but yeah, I can't wait.
Is your brother playing?
Masters.
Oh, he's playing Masters. I did not
First
know that.
Masters tournament, I believe.
Oh, because I was going to say, how close was he going to get to you? But if he's playing Masters, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, he's going to be 10 years away from me.
Oh, well.
Well, and it will be interesting. A little bit different format in that you're playing one round on Saturday morning. You go to the other course. Well, in this case, back to Maricopa Meadows. You're playing that course in the afternoon, and then Sunday there's one round. Then it's usually just been one round a day, I believe. So we'll see how
Some more
things shake
golf
up.
for sure. I'm excited about it though. I'm playing really good.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm. Usually my predictions are pretty good, and I think I'm gonna play really well this next week. My putting has been really, really good.
Are you?
Who's gonna win?
Oh, I was gonna say, are you putting? What are you putting with? Have you? Did you like the Luna, or was it not for you? Or are you sticking with something else?
I switched to the Challenger OS this last weekend, and I just felt really comfortable in the circle with it. I was able to putt it hard, and yeah, I'm probably putting as good as I was towards the end of last year, which is great.
Who's gonna win this weekend?
Oh, I can't give that prediction because I haven't played this new course. But if I were to say if we played 3 rounds on that other course, I would feel like with the way that I'm putting, it would be really, really hard to beat me.
Okay. And you mentioned Ricky Wysocki not competing this weekend. Why is that? I mean, it's right there in his
Scared?
neck of the woods.
He's skirt.
He's scared. Okay. Huh. Will he caddy for you?
No,
I mean, that would be
awesome.
pretty awesome.
I would not want him on my bag. I don't think.
What would be the most Here's the question. What would be the best piece of advice or the most insightful thing Ricky would tell you during a round while caddying?
Oh, jeez.
Don't miss.
Yeah.
I-
It was just I can't even think of something. I just don't want him on my bag. Period.
I say, how uncomfortable would that be, knowing that you've got like a 2-time world champ on your bag, and you know every shot you take, he's criticizing in his head somehow.
Well, no, here's the difference between if like Paul Macbeth was on my bag, it'd be completely different. I'd feel confident and all kinds of stuff. But Ricky is just like, I feel like he would just be judging me the whole time. Like
Yeah.
I miss people miss like 35 footers and he'd be looking at me like, what happened? You know, like we played doubles with him once in Emporia. And Nico was his partner. Nico kept missing these short putts. And Ricky finally looked at him and he was like, look, it's like this. Here. And it was like 25 feet. And I'm like, me and Drew were like, oh my God, this is his partner. Like, so yeah, I'm out on the Ricky caddy.
Well, on top of that, do you think you'd have to catch him to get your bag? That like before you're done teeing off, he's walking down the fairway instinctively. Just he is like 50 feet in front of every other person, even if he's a caddy.
Yeah, maybe. I don't
Rick,
think he
hold
could
up, I'm back here.
I don't think he would last. Honestly, I don't think he would even want to caddy. Like it sounds. If I were to ask him to caddy, he would just laugh at me.
Yeah,
That's what
I could already
Come on,
hear that.
That
yeah.
is the next blog. It's like a hidden camera show. Have a camera and just try to sincerely come up to him and be like, Ricky, I would feel really, really good if you think maybe you could just show up Saturday morning and
Just first round.
toss the bag on.
Yeah.
You know, we just like good old times, the buddies, and see his reaction.
He's one of my best friends. You know, like I hang out with him every other day. He's always at my house, and he's just a different kind of friend. You know what I mean? Like he's like that. We just give each other crap all the time, and that's just not something that I want in my round with somebody on my bag. You know, like I can just feel him laughing at me for messing up.
Whose bag would you put him on? If not yours, then this weekend, whose bag would you put him on? Who would he caddy for?
I would never wish that on anybody.
Come on. All right. You don't think he could be helpful?
He doesn't even take a caddy himself.
That's true.
He wouldn't know how to caddy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's good old Rick. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see him out there. I know last year I did. Last couple of years, I think he showed up, you know, and hanging out and socializing and selling his goods.
He's gonna go practice with me tomorrow. So
okay.
He's actually outside right now, probably listening to me talk crap about him.
Hey, you're just getting warmed up for your own podcast. That's all you're doing right now. Is just getting warmed up for the buzz.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. Well, we're gonna let you go. Get back out to your practicing with all your different putts and stuff, and looking forward to watching the action this weekend for sure.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to see you, buddy. Travel safe, and I'll see you soon. See you, Johnny.
See you later, Paul.
All right, take care. All right, Paul Ulibarri joining us from Arizona. And if you can't tell, I am a little excited. I love being out in Maricopa. They've always treated me very well. Dave Felberg kind of helped set that up many years ago. And I've fostered this relationship with that crew out there. Javier, originally from Grand Rapids, him and his wife, Amy Jo. I've been host and just all around a really good time. So I'm excited.
Would you like Ricky on your bag caddying? I think you or I could deal with that because the expectation he would have for us is so much lower. He just assumes we're going to miss everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would be able to, exactly what you're saying is there wouldn't be that pressure to perform the way a Ulibarri or a Macbeth or whomever else, typically does. So he probably would in his head just be thinking the whole time, like, why did you just do that? But I would be okay with it and be jovial about it.
Of course, we both would. And I could just imagine like the 6 trees you hit on the first 6 holes, you or I will say, and you're not saying anything, but that 7th hole, when you park the 312-foot shot, you turn around and be like, yeah, Ricky, this is where I'm at. And he's just shaking his head.
Yeah.
Like, oh, God, what am I doing here?
Well, the fact that Ricky's range for putting is so
60 feet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so disgusting about his game is watching him walk up to any putt of any length and know that he has a chance to put it in. Like that would make golf so much more enjoyable. Just knowing like, it's inside 70. I could make this. Like it wouldn't be crazy. I probably won't even get pumped or excited. Yeah, this very easily could go in. Like just such a different mentality when you're out there playing like that. Meanwhile, I'm just thinking, oh, God, don't miss this 25-footer.
Don't airball it. I don't want the 15-foot comeback.
Do not miss the 25-footer. All right, Johnny's going to get ready with our Patreon details. He'll pull up our latest and greatest spreadsheet so we can have confirmation.
I do. I've got 208 people in our current spreadsheet, so we have 208 patrons. Thank you, everybody who is a Patreon supporter of ours. I've sorted it by first name, reverse order. So the Z's are at the top, the A's are at the bottom.
How many? So we have a Zach at top, I bet, or a Zachary.
Let's look
a Zach or a
up
Zachary.
at the top.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Zachary Swanson, followed by Zach Pajic.
Along with Will Miller.
Whole 5 guy.
Wow.
Will Leroy Jenkins.
And Wes Kepi. Wes has won a bunch of times. All right. Yuli is giving dairy hair advice. All right, so.
What do we have?
I've got some goodies.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll find some goodies at the house to give away. Might have a Smashbox logo or a Disc Golf Guy logo or something. I'll find a disc to send your way. Maybe even a mini. If I remember, I'll throw that in as well. A disc and a mini. How about that? I'll send out a disc and a mini to one of our Patreon supporters here. And just to clarify, all Patreon supporters at the $1 and above level. So if you are supporting us in any way, shape, or form right now via Patreon, you are eligible for this weekly giveaway. We talked earlier in the regular show that $3 and above gets you a disc, and $10 and above gets you a shirt, a quarterly shirt, so on and so forth. But everyone at $1 and above is eligible for this weekly giveaway. When it's all said and done, 52 weeks times at least $15 per week. We're talking about like $18,000 worth of stuff we gave away last year.
Amazing.
But we will run those numbers. I got to fact check some of that. But it was a lot, and we are honored and glad to do so.
We're waiting on Uli to open his computer to do use calculator to figure that out. Once he does, we're set.
Yes, no problem. So there will be 3 rounds. I think this is also my 3rd iteration at the Maricopa Meadows Open. So with that, we're going to generate
3 numbers?
3 numbers. The 3rd number will be your winner. The first one,
174.
Not our winner.
Second number, not our winner, 48. Our 3rd and final, number 44.
So close.
We're going to scroll down here barely just a little bit. 44 is Richard Sassaman. Richard Sassaman.
There you go. Richard Sassaman, your winner.
Sassaman.
We will be sending out a disc and a mini is what I'll be sending you. Thank you for being a Patreon supporter, Richard. And to all of you for being Patreon supporters. We appreciate it.
I'm excited to start seeing pictures come in from everyone getting their discs.
Yeah.
Super
Please
cool.
do so. When you get your
Cool.
Patreon supporter disc, make sure you grab it, get a photo, and post it to Facebook and tag SmashBoxxTV. We'd love to see it.
Richard's been a Patreon supporter since May 24th of 2017.
Holy cow.
Very
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, very early Patreon supporter of ours.
Got in early. We love it. We appreciate it. All right, guys, we're going to call it. It's been a good night here on SmashBoxxTV. Look for some new action coming to you from the Disc Golf Guy vlogs, including new video tomorrow or on Wednesday, whenever you're listening to this. And maybe even by the time you do listen to this, there's been more fresh content. We got to clean out all of 2018 before we move into 2019. And looking forward to doing just that. For Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been podcast episode 231's After Show. We'll see you next week after the Maricopa Meadows Open. You step inside the Smashbox.